Welcome everyone. This is a very special pickups video. You might be noticing that there's a very famous person, or perhaps animal next to me. Indeed, it is the My Life in Gaming dog. Say hello.
This is Sandy.
This is indeed Sandy.
Sandoria for, the Final Fantasy XI fans out there.
Very nice. Of course, you are here as well. And I am the ghost of My Life in Gaming's past.
Yes, my life in gaming is over because I blew all of my money on video games in the past, 4 or so days, and we cannot continue.
Yes, I guess I should say I'm the ghost of my relationships past, because I think the money I've spent is definitely going to be the end of my marital status. But witness the funeral right here, right now. But indeed, we're in the same room. This is actually not a optical illusion. You and I are on the same couch.
Yes.
Yes, you're poking me. I'm going to have a huge bruise tomorrow. Thank you very much. And got the dog.
Yep.
She demanded to be in the scene.
Yep.
We negotiated a good fee. But indeed, it is the super team of Marc Duddleson from My Life in Gaming and Audi Surly from too many companies, I guess, now.
Yes,
considering...
that's right. So, to give a little backstory, we're doing a pickups video here because this has been a special weekend of sorts, an special extended weekend of sorts. Coury was here. Unfortunately, he had to go back home yesterday.
He did not turn into a dog.
He did not turn. This is not Coury. This is just Sandy. And when Coury arrived on last Wednesday at my house, we did a little bit of light game shopping, did a few pickups, and then we went on to the Limited Run Games retail store opening event in Raleigh. We're in the Charlotte area. I am in the Charlotte area here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that long of a trip. We thought it'd be a fun thing to do. Audi was there because of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, by this point, it's
yes.
all out there. I did indeed join Limited Run Games as a full-time employee. I am the new producer for the Carbon engine alongside Joe, and also business developer for European, Japanese, and some American video games. Not too many, because, you guys, your games.
Well, and as evidenced by the presence of this video, you are, of course, not done doing things with Digital Foundry.
Absolutely not. As this video does indeed prove, still very much with Digital Foundry, still doing DF Retro, still doing DF Directs. And yeah, it doesn't really change anything. I did work for another game company last year, which I was with for almost 9 years. And so I was pulling double duty with them. And my schedule of Limited Run does actually allow me to do a little bit more for DF than my previous company did. Just because of schedule, not because they didn't want me to. So, yeah, we bought a lot. I think for both of us, it's a little embarrassing. This is probably the biggest pickups in a short period of time that either of us have ever done. It's a lot. This was too many things. There was so many things coming together to create this disaster. Let's call it that.
It's a disaster.
It was us meeting up again for the first time in 3 years. I was here 3 years ago. When this room did not exist.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of well, let's celebrate the fact that I joined Limited Run. Well, let's celebrate that you and I are hanging out together for several days. Well, let's celebrate that Coury left. It's just it was so many celebrations. Every day was just throw the confetti. Put confetti on the screen right now, Marc. Because it was a week-long celebration, which ended in my financial ruin.
Yeah, so there happened to be a lot of yesterday, in my head I was thinking we went to all of the game stores in the Charlotte area. We went to 5 or something stores
in one day.
Yeah. And then today we went out to lunch and I thought, you know what, there's actually 2 game stores just across the border in South Carolina.
In another state.
Yes. And then when we went to those, we were heading home, and then you were looking up something about Video Game World, and you're like, there's 3 more Video Game Worlds. There a lot of the stores in this area have expanded, they consolidated back to the original store, expanded again, consolidated. And I didn't even realize these new locations had opened, and they're all great. Video Game World is kind of the premier retro gaming store in the Charlotte area. There are so many stores in this area, but Limited Run actually fulfills kind of a unique niche in the Raleigh area, because the closest thing to a retro game store by Sandy, she'll be back. In that area is Lost Ark Games in Greensboro. It's a little over an hour away from that area, but everyone in that area loves Lost Ark because there was nothing like that until the Limited Run store opened. So it was a huge event. You know, you were in there all day because you were working just like all the other employees. You were forced into retail work for this event.
Well, not forced, but we were asked, would we be loyal company partners and like employees and, you know, help out at the store. Of course we want to. It's an important stepping stone for Limited Run. And let's talk a little bit more about that store opening and show what we... I think we can start like this, right? We can show what we got at that store, because that's kind of where the madness began.
Oh my gosh.
And this is just one stack.
This is just one stack. This is all ridiculous. So the actual games from Limited Run that I got, oh gosh, most of these were like, you know, Coury is just like pulling off the shelf and be like, you know, you should have gotten this. You should have got this like when it was.
That to everyone.
Yeah, you know, you should get this.
You know, he comes off as like the reasonable parent, but then when you're with him in the store, he's just like, you should get this.
Yeah,
you know, this is good. You should get this.
Yeah. So, this Shadowgate, I actually was surprised I had not gotten this.
And this is excellent.
Yeah, I played it with...
You should get this.
Yeah. I played it with Drum and Lynn on the Backloggery stream, the PC version of it, several years ago. So I think technically it's like kind of, I can consider it beat already on my backlog. But I thought I got this. I got the 8-bit Adventure Collection.
Oh yeah, which has the original from NES.
Yes.
The NES version.
Yeah. And then I also decided to get my Gunvolt Burst. Because, you know, I have mixed feelings. I mean, I'll just be honest, I don't love the Gunvolt games that much.
You know, Matt Papa was there.
I know, he was there. I like a lot of Indie Create's work, but those aren't my favorites. But I thought, you know what? This one is like a little more NES style, so I'm assuming it's probably a little more snappy, a little less talky. And it might appeal to me a little bit more.
You can see on the front there, though, it has a pink sticker.
That means it was a hot item, and you were only allowed to grab one of them. If it didn't, I think you were allowed to buy two.
Yeah.
And then I also got this, you know, I felt a little bad that I never grabbed a version of Saturday Morning RPG, that's kind of Limited Run's own baby. This is like their firstborn. I mean, it wasn't the first game Limited Run released on the Vita or the PS4.
That was Breach and Clear, no?
Breach and Clear, but that was like contract work for another company. Like this is like Josh Fairhurst's like baby.
Yep.
And I was like, you know, I should have a version of this, just like because this is like the Limited Run game. And, you know, of course it came later for the Switch, so this was, you know, available to buy. So, and it's got music from like the guy who did like the old Transformers.
Vince DiCola.
Yeah, animated movie. Yep. Yeah, so, this is, you say Gree or Gris? Gree?
I always said Gris.
Gris. Coury says Gree. I don't know. He really liked this game. I passed on it because I was looking at this was like very borderline when I was looking at the trailers when I was deciding whether I was going to order this or not. But Coury really liked it.
It's very good.
Yeah. And so so I did get it. Pixel Junk Monsters 2. I'm not a big tower defense guy. In fact, really like Pixel Junk Monsters 1, you know, on PS3 was really the only one I've ever really even put much time into. But just because like I like to have physical versions of games that I have digitally whenever possible, like I thought like, well, I'll satisfy that irrational need with Pixel Junk Monsters 2. Well, which, you know, I'll probably like that well enough. And there was also The Bit Trip.
Yeah, cool.
Which I like this sort of series. I guess you could call it a series. It's sort of a singular story told over multiple games. I really loved it when they originally released on WiiWare.
Yeah.
I later bought the Wii compilation. And I love how the motion controls feel for like the paddle action in that. I'm a little skeptical of how it's going to feel doing that same thing with a PlayStation controller, but I thought I'd give it a try because this is obviously going to look better than the Wii game.
Now, how do you like the Bubsy version of that? Because Paws of Fury, or Paws of Fire, sorry, I'm mixing Brutal and Bubsy again.
That's a runner. Runner. Is it based on Runner 2 or is it based on like this has like more like 2D graphics. Like Runner 2 has like a 3D.
Yeah, it's more based on that Runner.
Yeah. I've not played the Bubsy one. And this is also Revenge of the Bird King by Super NES Joe, who you will be working with very closely.
Not in this game.
This game, I have no idea what to expect. The back of this has a very alarmed looking man that I unfortunately do not have the pleasure of knowing. And but there are some positives on here. PeteBiles.com, whoever that is, gave it a 0 out of 10.
Pete, that's Pete from LRG.
Oh, okay. I'm bad with names and faces. I have to admit, not all of these have clicked in my head yet.
Yeah, Pete's the best person in the world. That's how you know who he is.
And there's also Caroline Liddick, who said, I didn't hate it and gave it 2 out of 5 stars.
Also a very wonderful person.
So that's basically what I got from limited run. I mean, that Revenge of the Bird King isn't really a limited run.
No, we should clarify that before.
It's absolutely not. There's a lot of people that are actually confused about that.
Yes, and also just so you don't make the same mistake as other YouTubers. Yes, this was given to you by Joe.
You have to get it from Joe.
You have to meet Joe, and he might give it to you.
He might.
If he likes you.
You don't know.
But yes, you did not buy that.
Yes.
Very important to note.
Yes.
It's not at the store. It cannot be gotten at the store unless
there is a limitedrungames.com on the back that has caused people to think it is, but that was actually he just like forgot to remove that. He was using a template.
He uses the template, yeah. So, just so that's clear. Do not go to the store and request that.
Yes.
For your own good and considering the game.
Oh gosh. Also, just to finish up my stuff at the Limited Run Game Store, I did look at the...
This is going to be a long video.
Yes, it is. I got the MotorStorm games on...
Oh.
John...
Why would you ever pick up those games right now at this time?
Might have something to do with John Linneman's recommendations, and I'm not a huge racing game guy, but these always seem to appeal to me. And I never got around to picking them up, and they had all 3 of them there.
They did.
John very recently sold me on them, and now I have them. Oh, and that's actually not all of the games used games I got at the store, because when I went up to the counter, the boss man himself, Josh Fairhurst, was working just like everyone else, sticking price stickers on games, and I happened to see Bug for the Sega Saturn. I'm like, any US release Saturn game that I have even the vaguest curiosity about, like, I don't have much of a Saturn library. I got this into the system very late. When I got it, I wasn't even aware that the games were expensive for it several years ago. And it's like, well, this is actually a very interesting experiment in just people figuring out what 3D platforming should be.
I like this game.
And, I saw that and it was $40, which seemed like a reasonable price for a Saturn game. And I'm like, I'm going to be buying that Bug 2.
Yeah.
So it's not Bug 2. I don't have Bug 2.
You meant you were going to buy this as well.
As well, yes. So that is the extent of what I acquired at the Limited Run Game Store, plus acquired from Joe because Joe is Joe.
Joe is Joe. Yeah, I did actually, despite working there, I did not buy Limited Run games for other reasons. I do still order games from my own company, just so this is clear. But I didn't buy any at the store. Should be noted too, just because we're shills. But like at the store, if you buy Limited Run games, they're actually MSRP.
That's right. That's
so
right.
You didn't have to cut, like, I think this is why people came from so far.
Yeah.
We actually talked to someone. He had flown across country, and he had like this huge stack of games, right? And I was like, oh wow, we got so many. And he told me that he was trying to get a Vita collection, I think, or a complete Vita collection. And he told me that like coming there, the flight and hotel and everything was way cheaper than having to seek out those games, even half of them secondhand.
Now, I think it should be said, just for like the limited run naysayers out there, like a lot of people have like misconceptions just based on like one example they've seen of like, oh, this game is, all the scalpers are getting this game. If you go to like most any like game store, retro game store, like they'll probably have a couple of limited run games. Most of them like aren't like going for like an exorbitant price or anything, but there are a few. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, stuff like that. There are a few that just for market reasons have shot up in the aftermarket, but they are selling games for MSRP. There were several,
and always will.
And I do really believe that most of the people who were standing there in line wanted those games for themselves.
Yes.
I did not get the vibe that there were resellers trying to game the system there.
No.
I mean, it's possible. It's possible there were, but
it's always possible. But like the most of the people we talked with,
they were very, they seemed like really genuine people.
Yeah. So I did buy games still though, and I'll do a mix because we have to. We're gonna be here for hours anyway. But I did pick up a few games at the store, in the retro corner where I also was working. But the day before my papa came from Japan, he had also been in Jersey. He brought some of his collection over to actually sell to LRG so that they could put it in the retro corner. And I picked up a few titles from him before the show, or before the opening show. So I'll combine them because it kind of, if it wasn't from from Matt's hands, it would have been from the LRG retro corner.
Yeah.
So. And this is going to be a theme of the day, huh?
Why can't I hold all these games?
So, let's look at this, because it is Saturday Night Slam Masters.
I'm surprised you didn't have that.
Yeah, people would be surprised, because I wrote a book about a wrestling game, which is in the other room. Which, man, I told a lot of people I was going to give that book to them, but you see, those are stored in North Carolina at a very different location. And some guy that was going to come up said he was going to bring those boxes so I could give those books to these poor people.
Poor people.
His name was... What was his name? Marc Duddleson?
Yeah, it was like Tri-Ace or something like that.
Yeah. Would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
To give those books to people. Anyway, I didn't have this because I had Muscle Bomber in box from when I actually...
The Japanese version.
The Japanese version is called Muscle Bomber. Capcom wrestler with Mike Hagar from Final Fight. When I did the interview for my book with Tetsuo Hara, who also created Fist of the North Star, he did the preliminary designs for the characters in this. And so I picked up Muscle Bomber in box when I was there back in like 2012. And so I had that. So I never picked this up, but now I picked it up. And that's really the story of that.
Yeah.
It's an excellent game. Excellent conversion for the Super Nintendo. Very close to the arcade original. There is the Sega Genesis game that wasn't released in Japan. Only in PAL and US territories. That has an exclusive match mode. But you can't play 4-player on that. You can play 4-player in this.
Nice.
So yeah. This, though, is also from Matt Papa's stack. This is Santa Claus no Takarabako, which would translate to something like Santa Claus's toy chest, toy box, something like that. It is a Famicom Disk System game. It is a platformer-ish with some adventure elements. I've seen YouTube videos of it and was just kind of like, well, it has Santa Claus taking a poop in a chimney, as you can see.
That's one possible interpretation.
Isn't that the lore? That's at least what Santa did on my Christmas. But it has one of the most interesting boxes for a Famicom Disk Systems games that I've seen. Because normally they came in these small cases, like this one, which is the other game I got from Matt Papa, which is Gal Force. It's a HAL shooter. It is, if I remember correctly, it is a vertical shooter.
Okay.
Made by HAL. And based on anime series.
Okay.
So, got those two for Famicom Disk System. Good stuff.
I like Famicom Disk System.
It's excellent. Also, this I got from Aunt Papa. I got a fully boxed Contra, the Alien Wars. I prefer Super Protector because it's the superior game, superior designs. But I do like Contra as well, and I kind of felt like, well, he sold it for a very good price to me. And so I had to kind of pick it up. And also, of course, the artwork.
Tom Du Bois artwork. Yep, that's right.
Which I guess we can add like this little card on top here now to go look at your Tom Du Bois documentary.
Yeah, that's right.
See, that's how we cross-promote. Anyway, I did pick up some boxed N64 games. I usually don't buy that because I don't really care that much. But these games I care about, so I decided to pick it up. Shadowgate 64. The Trials of the Four Towers. Now, you picked up Shadowgate on Switch, which is the remake of the original.
Correct.
So this is the sequel, the third or fourth story in the series. It's not great. I actually did play it back in the day. I love Shadowgate. I've always loved it. We actually are going to talk about Shadowgate in a different video about Scandinavian releases. And we'll talk more about my love for it then. This isn't great.
I mean, I've played just like 10 minutes or something of it, and like it's better than I expected, which I had low expectations of, so that automatically makes me kind of, I want to dig a little deeper into it.
I think my problem with this in general is just that it never escalates into anything kind of proper. It's very tantric, and like you never really get to anything substantial in the story. It's not that the Shadowgate story is like that deep of anything, but for someone that was kind of into it, I even like hunted down Beyond Shadowgate back in the day. I played this, I remember, and I was just kind of like, I'm not sure. I was not sure about this.
But you bought it anyway.
I bought it anyway because it was a very good price, in very good condition, and I just kind of want Shadowgate in my life.
Yeah.
So why not? This also might surprise you, considering the fact that, you know, I have almost every wrestling game ever made. Physical condition. Physical condition. It would be, I mean, physical in good condition. But there are like a few standouts. Usually it is variation, like regional variations I'm lacking, and this is the case here. WWF No Mercy, which many claim is the best wrestling game on N64.
Wait, a system that is known for its wrestling games.
Yeah, probably one of the best in terms of just pure gameplay. Super Famicom is the best for wrestling games, which we talk about in my book. And I think you and I discussed maybe doing like a My Life in Gaming episode about wrestling games on a certain system, which would be funny because you don't know anything about it, and so I would have to be here to do it with you. But it's just kind of fun to do these team-ups. And I think that's a fun one for you to kind of... I think you would kind of get more and more into it over the episode.
Maybe
right?
so.
This is the final in the N64 series, but I don't think it's the best one. I think Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which is the one that came before in Japan only, is better. But it is excellent nonetheless. And I only had a PAL version, which lacks the blood. I know, censored. Them Germans, they don't like that blood. They don't like that Contra either. That's why everyone's robots in this as well. And the last one of the N64s was Doraman 3, which was such an incredible price. And I've actually been hunting this, but I felt like I was never going to buy this because it's not worth the price.
Well, one of the last N64 releases.
Is very late. It is like 2001 or 2000.
I mean, what kind of game is this? Is
it's a 3D action adventure.
Yeah.
A little bit kind of Mystical Ninja-ish, but not as good.
Mystical Ninja.
Yeah, I should be here talking about that instead. But yeah, Doraemon 3, I just was like, you're going to sell that for this price? Alright, I'll buy it for that price. And the last two from... And we're only at the limited run store out of our 11 trips. I also had to get Simon's Quest because I was lacking this.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, okay, I had the PAL version. Marc, please. I was born in Europe. There's only, you know, I have to, I fix it now. I take care of it now. And Wolverine, because I like the music in it.
Yeah? Do you like anything else?
No.
Oh, okay.
but it was a good price. I like the price.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my haul from Limit to Run store. To anyone who saw us there, because as much as people recognize you, last time I was here in 2019, I had not really done much DF yet.
Yeah.
2022 is a very different year, a very different time. And I have to say thank you to everyone who came up to me, because I did not expect people to come up to me at the store. I figured, like, maybe a little bit different of an audience. Some might come up and say, like, aren't you that guy? And I'll be like, yes. But a lot of you came up and was like, you know, you're Audi Surly from DF, why are you here? And stopped to talk to me for a long time. And just, it was overwhelming for me. I'm not used to this yet. And it's weird going into game stores as well in this area. And kind of like, you're that guy, yeah. It's very strange. I mean, you're a bit more used to it. But, you know, it was very overwhelming, but also very heartfelt that people came up and said thank you for the videos. Yeah.
So after this point, you know, we finished our trip in Raleigh. I did buy a couple of games off of Corey's childhood friend, Chris.
Oh, yeah, I met him. Excellent person.
Yes.
Really nice.
Yes, we stayed with him after the store opening. And somewhere in this pile, I'll get to those games I bought off of him. But I think from here, we're kind of just going to go freeform, no particular order, no particular store we bought them from. But I mean, you know, we didn't even go to any like pawn shops. This is all like game stores we went to, like somehow like between Lost Ark and Greensboro, and then like a roughly 10 stores, you know, within the, you know, an hour-ish radius of Charlotte.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to have all these stores, but I actually
didn't even know we had them.
I some of them I didn't know I had. But I've actually not really been game shopping since October. So like you, this is a lot of pent up game purchasing. We thought we were done yesterday. We
clearly weren't.
We clearly weren't. We went to as many stores today that I just didn't even think about as we went to yesterday. You know, Corey's a bad influence. You're an even worse influence.
Oh, I get that.
I mean, this man's appetite for game shopping is insatiable. Like, if Corey was in here, he'd just be like,
But then you look at the games I buy.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to go. But you know, because Corey knows when to cut it off. You don't. You are hungry for game shopping. I was like,
Corey has a family.
There might be a store somewhere. Well, should we go? And you're like, well,
to the Heavenly Mobile.
You mentioned it exists. I refuse to take no for an answer. We're going to this store.
Well, I also love
awful things happen to our wallets.
Yeah, I love road trips and I love hanging out with friends. So it's also an excuse to just kind of sit and talk. We stop for food on the way.
Oh, food.
It's good. Food, yes. The memories of food. But it's just good times, you know. So it's also about, you know, the friends you make along the way, especially when you consider the quality of the games that I'm mostly going to
You're going to be very good friends with some of your games, and some of your games, you know, you know, not every relationship is always, you know, just good times and agreement. No.
Sometimes it is also
sometimes your
phoenix.
Sometimes your games are and relationships are a literal barf bag.
Quite literal, isn't it? Because I got a barf bag right here.
The one store, like, Audi bought his games and they like put them in. I mean, I believe that is like an official barf bag.
I think. Oh, she heard it. She was like, "Oh."
Oh, she's like, "Who said barf bag?
Who regurgitated food that I could eat?"
Oh, what's it there? What's it there, Sandy?
She smells the trash, and oh boy. Yeah, so we should probably call out. We should call out the stores we went to.
Yes,
we should give shout outs to the stores we went to, and I don't remember any of those names. So
this one was G2K Games in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Okay, South Carolina.
Carolina, where
across the border.
Yes, the kids working there were very young, and they did not understand Audi when he was saying like, "Oh yes, I want this game. It's terrible," and he just kind of looked at him like,
"Well, that's not what I said, Marc. Well, I said, like, because I was pointing to, like, this game, that game, and that game. And he was like, all right. And I was like, yeah, I'm just helping you get rid of some trash. And he looked at me. He was like, well, what do you mean? Like,
do you
not like the...
Do you want them?
Yeah, he did not go... So he kind of like, oh, you don't want them. Like, you're wasting my time. But no, it's just that I collect terrible games. Because everyone else collects good games. I don't see the value in that.
Yeah, why do what everyone else does? You go fall off the couch, Andy.
Yeah, she is. She wants off the couch when she sees this. So, I did get 3 games at this location. I actually got 4, but we'll save the other one for later. I did get 3 games. Here, in this barf bag. I do believe they have plastic bags with their logo on it, but he insisted on putting in them. So, first of all, I got Caesar's World of Boxing, which is a FMV... No, it's not really. It's a digitized boxing game on the CDI. But look at the... You know, it's like no one ever played it or even wanted it. You know, never touched it.
Now, let me look at the back of the box here.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you know, it looks very real.
Oh, well, of course, because it's real graphics and real boxers.
I mean, that's
who knew?
That's the end game of game graphics, right?
Actually, they're not real boxers. Sorry, they're well, they look similar to the real boxers, quite similar, but you know, just you don't always.
They're real people,
real
so they're real boxers.
You know, it's not real boxers, perhaps not even a real game, but it doesn't matter. I did have to pick it up because it was a CDI game in South Carolina.
That's what you do.
That's a story you can tell to your grandchildren one day. It's like, boys, sit down. Let me tell you the time I went to South Carolina and bought a CDI game. I also got VIP. You were like, is this based on something?
Is it?
I did look it up on Wikipedia. So VIP was apparently a show after Baywatch, if you remember that, where Pamela Anderson is like bodyguard? Works for bodyguard agency or something? I didn't quite get the synopsis. It was a little bit confusing. But she's in it.
Yeah.
She's also in this game. However, by very quickly looking at it, first of all, we tried to make sense of the screenshots on the back.
Yeah, let me take another look at this.
Yeah, we couldn't even make sense of what's happening. It is 3D, I suppose. Yeah, they won't be able to see it, I think. But
they don't need to.
Yeah. Do you like Jaggies, little man? Because this is all Jaggies. But it does promise to give us exploding bombshells, VIP uncut. So I guess this is uncut version. Furious action, and minigame bonus. From what I was reading, the whole game was a minigame or something. So, who knows. But she's not actually in the game. It's all CGI. Which, like, if you were a Pamela fan back then, I guess would be kind of a waste of money. But I don't know. I think this was a waste of money. But I did buy it because... and also it should be noted that the teenagers working at that store, things have changed because I don't think they knew who Pamela Anderson was, and it made me feel very old because I remember one of the kids, like, the looks for the CD was like, who's this? Like, because her name is on it featuring Pamela Anderson. It's like, who's Pamela Anderson? And I kind of died inside. You know, the star of Barbed Wire. And finally, just because I love John Lemon so much.
Yes. You bought his favorite game.
His favorite game. It is the price tag of $33.99, but behind it you can see, perhaps, that is Brutal Paws of Fury, which is that animal fighting game that John did review for the 32X in his full 32X video. This is the Sega CD version, which isn't better, but it does have those very famous, like, animated sequences. Very famous because, like, one of them has, like, a bear, like, throwing a sandwich on the floor.
Which this case, for a Sega CD case, is in good shape.
Very good shape. It's like these 3 games that no one ever played them, as if, like, no one ever wanted them. But here we are.
Here we are.
I wanted them.
You did that. You did.
And I can go back into the barf bag.
Yes.
I did get one more game, which, of course, I can't find in this stack. You can't see it on camera, but it is a massive stack here. Where is the other game that I got from that lot? Here we go. We wanted to talk about this because this was very interesting. So this was this is the final game I got from
G2K Games.
Yes. And you were like, well, of course you want this, but I was like, for different reasons, Marc. This is indeed XS Junior Dodgeball.
Horrible cover art.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that face. Look at those kids. You can also see them in the back here. But if you look at the back, if you look at this pristine back here, you notice that the screenshot, I handed it to you. It's like, look at this. You looked at the front and you're like, of course you could get whatever. But I was like, no, look at it. Yeah, look at it, Sandy. Look at it. Look at that. She sees it too. The screenshots look quite competent and has like great sprite work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is due to the fact that this is actually a Japanese game that was brought over by XS, which we have discovered had a very interesting history that we will go into. But this is a Japanese localized game, and it's a dodgeball game that's actually by some of the people that was in Technos Japan, who created the Kunio-kun series. And so this is quite similar to the Kunio-kun.
And those people know how to make a dodgeball game.
They do. And that back then, they created like a few companies. It was Minion, Miracle Kids, and I think there was another company. They all split off to do different games, but mostly in the vein of like the sports Kunio-kun games. And this is one of those. I forget which company did this because of all the splits. They eventually would come back to do everything under Million at Arc System Works now. So Kunio-kun remains.
Yeah.
But this is actually an excellent game, and you wouldn't think of it looking at this cover, would you?
No,
not at all. But trust me, it's very good. So if you find it, you should pick it up.
I should.
I do have the Japanese version though, which has a very different cover.
I would imagine so.
I'll send you the picture of that so you can show on screen, and you can see this in comparison. But that was the last I got from.
G2K Games in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
I can never remember. I call it the Geek Store because the kids there.
They're
never gonna see this. That's fine.
Yes.
They were a bit eccentric.
They were the people that you imagine like they were the closest things I ever imagined to people who would be making really dumb arguments about anime and video games online. You see it online.
Yeah. We
heard it in person. It was an interesting experience.
So, that was kind of my haul from the barf bag.
Yeah. So from here, I for now, I think I'm just going go on like a system by system basis. Whatever I grab here, I sort of have these a little bit sorted. So one of the games I got one of the stores in South Carolina was Batman Returns, which I would have never even thought of buying this if Audi wasn't there.
Yeah. I went up to you and I held it and I was like, you should get this.
You should get this.
You should get
this, and I did. It's a Konami game, and I never would have thought to pay attention that it was a Konami game. Like I would have probably just assumed, this is probably some Western developed. Not so, because not knock on Western developers, but they weren't the best on consoles at that time.
But no, this is a late era Konami game on NES,
which
and holds up to the quality of like something like TMNT 3. I think great music, great graphics.
Yeah.
To me, it's like kind of like part of Konami's peak on the NES.
Yeah.
But people really don't gravitate towards it.
Yeah. Well, obviously there must be some demand because it's $25, which doesn't make it like,
Well, for a late, because when does this, like 99, 93?
Yeah, something like that.
And most of the Konami games, most games from that time is going up in price much more so than this.
Yeah. And I really wanted to get Batman Returns on Super Nintendo at another store later, last store we went to actually, but
it was too yellow, right?
The back was really yellow, and I'd already spent so much money, so I'll just keep that in mind for another time.
Yeah, that $15 would have broken the bank.
Yeah. Oh, there's actually another. There's another NES game down here that I should grab from my NES stack. Now this one is a little yellowed, but it does need to be cleaned up a fair bit. But I think it'll clean up okay. This is totally rad, which it's called Magic John in Japan, I believe. And are you gonna sit here, Sam? What are you doing? Just lay down if you want. Our good friend the 8-Bit Duke did a video on this, and you know, he did a good job of making it look interesting. But you know, he likes to review a lot of like interesting NES games. You know, they aren't always like necessarily the best or anything, but they're interesting. There are interesting aspects to this.
Yeah.
And I love the name. I mean, whether it's Japan or America, Magic John are totally rad. I feel like you've got a good name there.
Yeah.
But the name does not reflect the magic element of the game, you know, where you've got all these spells that you can use. But you know, hey, it's has a very of the time looking cover. I'll say
and
that.
Name.
Yeah.
Very of the time name. Totally rad.
That it is. I also got Tiny Toons Adventures. I mean, another Konami NES platformer. I mean, you know, you can't go wrong with that. I got Flintstones for the NES, which I did not expect.
I was surprised you had very little idea about this.
Yeah, well, I knew that one of the Flintstones games was super expensive, mostly due to just being, you know, late NES game.
Yeah.
And I never, like, you know, Flintstones, as far as like cartoons of that era go, like Flintstones, I've always liked it, you know, pretty decently.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, licensed games from this era, you never really know. Is it going to be good? Is it?
What's tight?
Is it? It's so it is. I did not realize that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard to tell. I mean, considering that's just on top of the cartridge thing.
Yeah. But yeah, so you talked me into this. It's probably a game that's at risk of, you know, it's $30 now. It's probably at risk of getting a little more expensive, I would think.
So, yeah.
So I thought, well, you say it's good. I don't recall ever trying it on like an EverDrive or anything, but I'm going to take the word of the man who buys games in a barf bag.
Yeah.
This, you know, is actually he's like, oh yeah, that's really good. I think it's an essential NES game. So
it absolutely is, and great music, and it has that club mechanic that like you have to like hold the B button to like really get some power on the club.
Okay.
Power the club.
Okay.
Oh. It's just fun. It has a basketball minigame.
Okay. Also got POW, which is a SNK game, a port of an arcade game.
Yeah. Side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yep, yeah, and it sort of feels unique. Like it's got a different sort of feel to it from like
Vietnam.
brawlers that came later. Like just in terms of like the feel and the controls and stuff. But you know, I've tried this out here and there, and I was like, you know, I should get that.
Yeah, it's just competent.
Yeah, it's just it's very competent.
Yeah,
it's very competent. Also got Little Mermaid for NES, and look, this is the only game that like we both bought.
Well,
on our journeys together.
I think so, considering the quality of some of mine. But like, the thing was that it was $10, and we might be completely off base here, but I am pretty sure I've seen it for more.
I've seen it starting to creep up, like 20, 25. I saw it at 20 or 25 in several stores, and like this is a game that's all like, you know, I'm not like I've seen the movie a time or two, but I'm not like a massive fan of it or anything. But Capcom Disney game, you can always count on that being pretty solid.
Well, this is the only Capcom Disney game I didn't have. I had the others.
Yeah.
And then
I don't have Little Nemo because that game is really mean. Is that Disney?
No.
Yeah.
It's Capcom.
It's got like the purple on it, like the other Capcom games.
Yeah. But yeah, it kind of falls in that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like underwater
game. It's Capcom,
like,
but I mean, $10 for a Capcom Disney game on the NES, like you can't go wrong with that.
Nope.
You can't go wrong with that.
Well, that was all your NES games.
That was all of my NES games. Well, you got like another NES game or so.
I do have another NES game, and we've lost track.
There's no order.
There's no order, so I think I'm just gonna go, kind of with a few games here. But I did pick up one more NES game. It is Street Fighter 2010. Yeah, 2010, the Final Fight. You still weren't too familiar with this, which again, surprises me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know what my assumptions are about that game. I can't remember if I've ever booted it up or not.
You should, because I mean, it's not a Street Fighter game, but I do have a Japanese version, which is why I never picked up the US version. But it is kind of like a boss rush. game.
Okay.
It has great music.
Uh-huh.
Very difficult.
I mean, how would you describe the controls? It's not like one-on, because I'm not a big like one-on-one fighter guy.
No,
some I play like I like Soul Calibur,
but that doesn't play
yeah.
like that at all. But you can pick up like different power-ups, and you have like
is it like side-scrolling?
yeah, it scrolls sideways and
Okay.
vertical and horizontal. Because you're kind of in an arena. There's always like one target enemy. That's the kind of boss, so you have to beat that. It can be very different from stage to stage. The final boss is one of the most crazy in any NES game. So like, I really, if you have never played before, this is an excellent stream to do. I think for you and Coury.
Okay.
Maybe Coury has played it.
Oh, I'm sure he has it.
Yeah, I still kind of prefer. I think this is one of those games that has like adjustments to difficulty in the US version. So
it might be harder.
Yeah, I think it is. I might be wrong though, as I usually am. But I've always played the Japanese version and beaten it, so I don't know if that just means that like I'm good enough to beat it, or if this is harder. So I'm kind of interested to play this and find out. But yeah. But let's go into. I'm gonna get some more games here, because why not?
Yeah, well, you've got more to get through than I do.
Yeah,
so
I certainly do.
Let's go for you go for it.
Yeah. So let me do a few. I'll go with sort of like a theme here. I'm gonna do a few here because I want to talk about my love for very long boxes.
Long boxes.
Yeah. So I did pick up a few long boxes. I picked up at Video World in
the first one we went to?
Yeah.
Huntersville, North Carolina. That's the original video game.
Yeah. So just give them a shout out. Very good store. Very
excellent
nice
store. Classic store.
Yeah. Had a lot of fun there. Picked up this for a very, very decent price. I love the long boxes, and I do definitely love Tekken. So I was like, oh, I don't have this long box. I will pick it up, good sir. I also picked up a couple other long boxes here, and one is one of my favorite games of all time. But this I picked up, the ESPN Extreme Games, because you might be familiar with it. We did the PS1 launch game last year on DF Retro.
Mm-hmm.
And what are you looking for? We're looking for a try.
Why is I'm trying not to spoil another game, but like the spine, it's reversed from the norm, and it is cementing my hate of long boxes. This makes me feel justified in the fact that I've actively through my entire life avoided getting PlayStation long boxes, because look at that upside down PlayStation. It's wrong. It's aligned wrong.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. I did pick up this because the PlayStation launch episode that John and I did, we talked about this game. It's kind of like a road rash type game with like bicycle, cycles, and the luge, which no one should pick. And rollerblades, of course. It's very extreme. It's very extreme. But I like it also. It's a very good game.
All right.
Yeah, it's not bad. If you haven't played it, it might be a good one to play. You should pick it up.
I just can't stop looking at that spine.
Stop looking. Take your eyes off it. Before I go to my favorite game of this pile, well, in fact, one of my favorite games is also here, but we went to Joe's Video Games.
Joe's Video Games in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Yes, in South Carolina. And look at this pristine 3DO box. Now, these usually don't hold up this well, but I mean, this... I don't even like soccer, but I was like, I like the box.
And you like that price? $15 for a 3DO game.
Yeah. Pretty good price, and just like, I love collecting 3DO. I didn't have this, and I was like, wow, this is like pristine quality, right? So, picked it up. Cool shop, by the way. It has like a lot of arcade cabinets.
I think it's a lot of their business is like restoring and selling arcade machines, yeah.
Right. So, if Joe is watching, very cool store. We had a great time there. Found some good stuff. I think some of the NES games, Batman Returns.
Batman Returns came from there. I also got I think I got a Game Gear.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I got a Game Gear game and maybe a GBA game.
Yeah. Now, this came from another video game world where the clerks did recognize us very quickly, and we had a good time there. We actually stopped to talk to them for quite some time. But they had a very good quality Road Rash on 3DO, one of the best games on the entire system from its US output. I keep saying that, of course, the Japanese output is very interesting on 3DO. Perhaps another collaboration between us for that topic in the future. But Road Rash, you have to. It's one of the must-haves for the 3DO,
and it's the best version of this version of Road Rash.
Some say. I think that has a little bit to do with the music and such in-game. It doesn't run at the best frame rate, but definitely the balance in the game. And also the pace is probably the best here. It's just for the 3DO, it's just one of the best experiences you can have. Yeah. And I do really enjoy this version. So I don't know if it's my favorite of it, but it's definitely kind of the one that has most sentimentality towards.
Yeah.
But one version of what's missing of this game, which I have, there's a picture on Twitter somewhere of my flashback collection. I have some of the rarest flashbacks versions from Japan, Europe, but I didn't have this again because I do have the Mega CD version of it, but I didn't have the long box version because the price usually is too high, and I just even though I buy so many games, I don't tend to want to buy stuff if it's too expensive. So I don't splurge on super expensive games. But this was a very good price. I forget what it was. It also came from Video World up in the first one. Huntersville. And this is actually, despite not having this one, I mean, other than the Mega CD version, this is actually my favorite version of Flashback. I know that some people will say, well, they don't like the cutscenes as much because it does have the new cutscenes. Which were remade for the CD versions rather than the excellent ones you see in Genesis. But this has in-game music, and the music is absolutely incredible. So I really enjoyed this version of the game.
Yeah, I wish, I had at one point I had the cartridge version, the cartridge Genesis version of this, and I want to like rotoscope games so much because I love how they look. I love the atmosphere and everything of them, but I really struggle with stuff like Another World and Flashback. I want to like those games, but the way they play just doesn't quite. I get tired of it,
It's not for everyone, especially now. It's even hard to get into them. I fully realize that. I grew up with them, which is why I can play them and have so much enjoyment. But what's cool about these games for me is that I really enjoy playing them and show them off. And I think these games, more so than a lot of other adventure games from back then, these are really fun to watch. So
they are fun to watch. I mean, you streamed Another World the other day, and I appreciate getting to see the entirety of that game.
So maybe for next time we're all here together, I'll follow up that stream with a stream of playing through this. Yeah, that'd be great. This is a much longer game than Another World. But
you can still finish it in a stream.
I can finish this in probably an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I mean, this was my long boxes. They are long. They are boxes,
and they will be in your life for a long time.
For the rest of my life, I hope. Unless you're trying to suggest that you're gonna steal them. But before we go too much into my immortality, though, what's next on your list?
Let's see what to grab here. Let's I think this is the only Super Nintendo game I got. This is Paladin's Quest, published by Enix. I don't know who it's developed by. But this is a friend of mine did enjoy this rather recently, actually. I think it's not widely considered one of the great Super Nintendo RPGs, but it is a Super Nintendo RPG that costs less than $40. And I feel like that's just, a thing I think that's a thing worth giving a chance.
I feel like I played this game at some point and I didn't like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's I'm willing to give it a shot. That was the only Super Nintendo game I got. Yeah. But I did get 3 N64 games.
Card only.
I
see you don't put end labels on yours.
I do not. Oh, I mean, I just bought these, but even if I there would not be end labels on them because I like to keep them looking stock.
See, no, this is a flaw on the N64 cartridges.
I mean, it is a flaw. Don't get me wrong, it's a flaw, but
I can fix it.
But it's a flaw. But I live with the flaws. I roll with the punches. I roll with the issues.
But it doesn't have to be this way. We have the technology. We have the solution.
The technology is, I look at my shelf, I see gold cart, blue cart, green cart, red cart. And I know where in relation to those cartridges, other cartridges
There's so many variables here. I could just put a sticker on it, which looks great, by the way.
I don't think they look that good.
Oh, you just have to get the right Etsy seller.
I hold N64 very near and dear to my heart. I grew up with these games not having end labels, and I don't want them to look any different.
I don't understand. You can fix this.
So anyway, my end label-less N64 carts are...
Which game are they? Well, they picked them out.
Oh, I know what they are.
Because you can see the front label.
Oh, I'm going to pull out the one in the middle, and it's going to be Aero Gauge. Oh, see? Yeah.
Which we did a N64 Futuristic Racer DF Retro Play, where we did play this. This was kind of the unknown of our episode. Yeah. I remember both John and I think I had played it with my friends, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. I have a vague memory of it kind of back in my brain somewhere from before the DF Retro Play. But it is excellent.
Solid, yeah, yeah. I remember I rented this back in the day, and it had always been like vaguely in the back of my mind. It's like, that's something I should get. And then when I saw that video, that like really put me in like the mode of like, I should get that.
Yeah.
And the reason it took me so long, I mean, this is a good looking cart. This is a game that you see often, and it's not super expensive, although I feel like the price is going up a little bit. It's $15. I feel like it's just one of those games that you always see in just junk condition. We saw a lot of real junky N64 games.
Should we explain the Carolina theory?
I think this is a little unfair.
It's not unfair.
It's unfair.
You brought it on yourself by dumping your games in mud and poo. Like every game we see here that's like loose. Like let's say like out of 10 games, 9 out of 10.
No.
8 out of 10.
No, I mean,
yes.
Look at.
Stop with your selective.
Look at this beautiful little mermaid.
Stop with your selective defensiveness.
This has not been in mud.
Yeah, that's because this little mermaid and the girl touched that. But like most of the cartridges.
Not this one.
Not this one because you're showing off, but not the one. I didn't buy dirty cards, but most of them, it's like they've been for a nuclear war. Like, there was a few games where we were just like, which game is this?
There was a copy of Rogue Squadron at one store that literally almost
gold card.
It almost looked like a gold card of Rogue Squadron because it was so
dirty,
yellow and brown.
But why? What is it about North and South Carolina was worse? We'd go there and just like, well, is this Super Nintendo cartridges or like some kind of like gold digger bar?
Well, we've got a lot of game stores. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but boy howdy, you didn't have many cloths to clean those games.
So then I also got Excite Back 64. This was $12, and for some reason I had it in my head that like
we didn't have data connections. We didn't price chart any of these.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's fair.
I'm sure it's a fair price, but I thought it would have been more expensive than that. But this is a game a friend ran it back in the day. I've tried it from time to time, and it's it's good enough that and especially since it's the connection to a classic NES game. I've always kind of wanted to get it, but I didn't want to spend much money on it. And when I saw a good looking cart and it was only $12, I'm like, I can get that. I should get that. And this is one of this is one of the games the few games on N64 that I would actually say Coury likes more than I do. Mm-hmm. And he is not an N64 man. And lastly, this is kind of the wild card. This might seem like an odd grab, but I got Xena Warrior Princess.
Oh, you got Xena Warrior Princess? Because
the Talisman of Fate. Oh yeah,
I got Xena Warrior Princess.
There was a game that we both bought.
Yeah.
Now, did you own the NTSC version of this loose before, or any version?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this game is like
Well, first of all, it's based on a show.
It is based on a show, which I've really not watched. I mean, I know it's like kind of a Sam Raimi produced thing, which I love Sam Raimi stuff. Maybe I should watch this show someday. But I mean, of course, I was aware of it when it was on TV back in the day. I didn't watch a lot of TV. I never really did. But I tried this on a flashcard. Like, you know, you and I were researching, or, you know, you, John, and me and Coury were researching a certain set of games. And I tried this. I'm like, I feel like this should be bad. Maybe it is bad, but like,
I mean, just look at the logo down there. Is
Titus. Yeah, I mean, nothing about this indicates that it should be good.
No,
but like,
it is.
It is good. It's like it's sort of like I'm not a big one-on-one fighting game, but some of the fighting games that do appeal to me have much more free form movement. Like Ehrgeiz. Yeah. Like Ehrgeiz really kind of speaks to me because of that more free movement. It's not like this is exactly like Ehrgeiz, but it is much more of a free moving arena. You can like do backflips off of walls and stuff.
Yeah, I think what people call these are arena fighters.
Sure.
And yeah, it's a 4-player simultaneous arena fighter. Runs a pretty good performance for it.
I think it might even have like a high res mode.
I don't remember.
I'm not positive.
No,
it does say developed for expansion pack on your box there.
Okay, then you might be right. I don't remember this. But yeah, it was developed by Sapphire. And yeah, it's pretty good for a platform that lacks. I mean, it does have the wrestling games, which in some ways you can consider fighting games, but
sure.
You know, they have a heavy grappling system. But this is one of the better like fighters. Like you have Rakuga Kids, you have this, you have Fighters Destiny, things like that. But for a system that generally gets kind of laughed at in the fighting game, you know, community. This is fairly good. No, it's okay. It's no gasp, but it's fairly good.
Gasp.
Fighters next stream. But I'll continue here.
I mean, you keep on going.
We're stalling time. This will be like the longest pickups video ever done. I'm gonna go into a different topic altogether. We were in.
Oh gosh.
Because, you know, we were just talking about fighting. We've talked about long boxes. Let's talk about freedom. Let's talk about America. Let's talk about red, white, and blue. Because, you know, every time I come here trying, I always go to the customs agent. And she's like, "Gonna eat any food when you're here?" And I say, "Ma'am, I only eat one thing. Freedom." I also only buy one thing. Freedom. This is Patriotic Pinball. Okay, so let's do them in order. This is Patriotic Pinball. This is a game you saw.
I just like saw this on the shelf and I'm just like, what the heck? And you just made this priceless face. You were just like,
I mean,
and you just immediately were like, I am buying that.
Yeah, because I know my trash. I mean. But, you know, Patriotic Pinball, I was like, wow, hello there. You're coming home with me tonight. And so I picked it up. It was, what was it, $5? But it was like on the bottom shelf, kind of hidden away. And you were just like, oh, look at this. And I was like, all right, I'll look at it. And I looked at it, and I was just like, all right, this is, you know, definitely up my alley. I didn't even know this is a thing, but apparently there's nothing more patriotic than pinball, because we picked up this, we laughed at it, and we're like, they couldn't possibly do this again. Patriotic pinball, it's like patriotic, it's a ball bouncing around. They did it again.
Did they do it again?
No.
It is not they.
America did it again.
we collectively did it. We the people.
Did it again. Because this was pure pinball.
And underneath, to just clarify, it is American Pinball Reborn.
Exactly. So, okay, we're on a thing here now. So this is pure pinball, American Pinball Reborn. Reborn in the year of, let's see here. It doesn't say. Let's just say it's eternal. Came out on the original Xbox, so clearly.
By the same people who published
XS Dodgeball. So we were like, whoa, what's this? Like, it's the XS Dodgeball people, and look at what they're doing. They're doing fantastic cover artworks.
Yes.
I started looking into them. They will definitely be a subject of a future video of mine.
I love how these, you know, CG rendered ladies on the front, the exact same arrangement of them is in the background, but, you know, colorized, bluish or something, and also ray trace reflected in the pinball in the front there. Very impressive technology on display.
Reflected on the front. I'm not sure about.
Oh, it's ray tracing, all right.
Yeah.
I already asked Alex about it. It definitely shows signs of ray tracing.
I'm just not sure about perspective, but that's not important. The only perspective we need is the ladies. And look at the ladies. We have, I don't even know what that's supposed to be, but it's like an elfin warrior with warrioress with a sword. There's a military lady with a gun or a rifle. I don't do guns. There's a racing lady who is not wearing her helmet, which I put your helmet on.
Yeah.
And also, you know, you have a jacket. Zip up your jacket. It's gonna get cold. And a cowboy lady, because how?
I mean, it is American Pinball Reborn. So I mean,
and then
you know,
yeah, and just repeated, because why not? And then repeated again, because why not? 3 times. It's comedy, just like laying down on the floor. There's also 4 tables. This doesn't sound like a lot.
I mean, it represents the American flag with red, white, blue, and then, you know, the extra value for transparency.
Okay.
You know, so
I mean, that's what they always say. Like, you know, red, white, blue, and transparency.
Yes.
You can save your high scores on the Xbox Live leaderboards, which I would love to see today, and American Pinball Reborn. What can we say? This is amazing, by the way.
I mean,
I'm just so happy that we discovered XX Games, because I looked up their gamography, and whoo boy!
Oh man, are we going to be haunted by the ghost of XS Past?
Oh, I think so.
I can't wait to see the costume of that ghost.
You can see it on the front here.
Oh no, I'm horrified now. I am not looking forward to meeting this ghost.
He will be haunting you, I also, because, and I actually have a double, so I had the PAL version of this. I also discovered after coming home that I have this already.
The Japanese version?
Yes, but I don't have the manual, so I did still
still come up on top.
But Flipnik, this was actually also from the allergy store. It was in the retro corner.
I thought you said allergy store at first.
Yes, from the allergy store. You know, I picked up some nasal spray.
You did?
And a Flipnik.
Yeah.
I did have horrible allergies this week, so could have been. But I picked up this, of course, because, again, John and I did a DF Retro play, which was actually quite popular.
Yeah, I missed that one somehow, and I didn't know you did it, but I heard you guys recommending it, so I bought that game myself. The US version, of course, but you found it for an extraordinary price.
Yeah, it was like $10, which usually doesn't go for anymore. Kind of thanks to our video, I guess. This is like a it's so hard to explain. This
it's a pinball adventure of sorts, right?
Yeah, but it's like this. Man, it's like this euphoric, psychedelic, like introspective pinball experience. Like, it makes you think, and you're just playing pinball.
Makes you feel.
It makes you feel. It actually does. Like, as John and I was saying in that video, which you should check out, you know, there's just something that happens to you when you do this, because you start with a simple board, but you unlock more of the board, and it's completely beyond like a realistic pinball board, but you are like in space, and you open up islands, you deal with like different missions. You have in one section, which is very famously from our video, you have to go through the Ice Age, you go through evolution, you get the Ice Age, and it actually freezes the board, so you have to like platform your way vertical, so you have to kind of jump up.
There's all kinds of stuff going on here. I mean, there's like lots of interesting like camera angles and stuff, and there's like some section that looks like Breakout. There's a section that looks like Pong.
Yep.
There's looks like all kinds of stuff going on here. I noticed on this Japanese cover, there's some English text that says that Flipnik is a enjoyably simple action, amazing pinball game for you.
Yeah, and
do you agree with that?
Yes, I actually think this is perhaps the best copy text I've ever read. Not because it's funny or anything, but this actually does sum up the game the best way you ever could sum it up.
It's for you.
Yes, and for anyone who doesn't have this, this is one that you pick up now. It came out. Interestingly enough, this is
generally it goes for about $25. FYI, like don't look for that $10 because you're just not gonna find.
The Japanese version is now up in the 70s.
Oh,
for some reason.
Did you get a good deal on that?
Very good. But yeah, this is actually developed by Sony. So the internal Sony
really?
studio.
Okay, like the same people that are doing like maybe not the same people, but the same studios that were doing like Ape Escape and stuff.
I don't know like the actual people working on it. Can you read this?
It's published by Capcom in the US.
In the US, published by Capcom. In PAL, published by Ubisoft.
That's wild.
So I don't know the story behind
all
that.
over the place.
Me and John have both tried to actually contact some people, see if we could figure this out, but we haven't yet. But I would love to know the story. I guess the story is boring enough to just say this is a very late release for the system. Is 2005, late 2005, that this came out. So PS3, was right around the corner. It was announced already. And I think releasing a euphoric, surreal pinball game on PS2 for you probably wasn't in the interest of Sony America.
Too bad.
Too bad, because it's one of the best games on the entire system. So
can't wait to try it myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then follow up with Patriotic Pinball.
Of course.
Have you gone through your list, sir?
Yeah, I mean, while you're on PS2, why don't I grab my stack of PS2s?
All right.
Yes. So, first of all, I've got Maximo, Ghost to Glory. This is the first Maximo. I've had the second for several years. I've played like a world of it, but like I always kind of like, I still do kind of want to play the first game before I really commit to that one. I know the second game is generally kind of considered the better one. It's a lot more forgiving in terms of giving you save points and kind of progressing on a world map. This one is much more unforgiving. I believe when you save your game, it remembers like how many continues you have left and stuff like that. But I'm not afraid of a NES-esque challenge, even though this is of course a 3D platform. I actually didn't know until not that many years ago, this is widely considered like a spiritual successor to Ghosts and Goblins, Makai Mura. It is actually a Western developed game, but it's a very, very good 3D conversion of those concepts.
Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun.
I mean, I played a bit of this back in the day. A friend had it. I've always wanted it, but again, it's one of those games that you just see so commonly, and you always think, oh, I can just get that another time because I'm buying all these other games. I always fell on the back burner to get, but it is creeping up in price a bit.
Oh
yeah,
okay.
So I finally decided, okay, I'm going to get it before it gets any worse. And this was a fairly good condition copy, better than most I see. I got this. Yeah. This was a little price. Most of the games I got were relatively cheap. This is a little pricier, but this is a game that I think is very much at risk of becoming quite expensive.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go ahead and get it. This is Urban Reign by Namco. Is this an American developer or Japanese developer?
Oh no, this is definitely Japanese developer.
Okay. It doesn't. You look at this cover and you wouldn't think it is.
The cover isn't great, but it is by the Tekken team and actually runs on a Tekken engine.
Okay, I mean Coury streamed this game a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
and it just blew my mind. Like it is a super over the top it's just really fun looking to play, and it's just this does not look like a game I would want, but I mean it's very much classic style brawler of the veins of Streets of Rage or whatever, but in 3D. Yeah. It's kind of an evolution of those kinds of concepts, and if you like those games, you should definitely look into.
It's one of the best 3D brawlers.
Look into this.
Yeah, it's one of the best 3D brawlers you could hopefully.
Yeah. So grab this before it gets any more than $50.
Yeah. It's very good. You can unlock some Tekken characters.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
it's like
cool.
Law and Paul, I think.
Okay. So, also, I got Onimusha 2, Onimusha 3, and Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, which I guess is just Onimusha 4? I don't really know. I don't even know if it's like the same type of game or not. But I don't know a lot about the series, to be honest. Like, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and these are kind of, Resident Evil is just like right there in my top 3 series.
Oh, is it?
Oh yeah, it's top 5 at least, but maybe top 3. I love Resident Evil. Love Resident Evil. And this is like Resident Evil adjacent. And I've always, I don't know why, it just took me so long to get these games. I got the first game several years ago. It was actually it was actually a convention where they had an open copy and a closed copy, a sealed copy, and the sealed copy was the same price as the open copy. It was like $10. I'm like, okay, of course I'm gonna buy the sealed copy. So now I have 2, 3, Dawn of Dreams. I don't have a solid idea of how many more games in the series there might be, but this is, people have generally called them horror games, but from what I've seen, I'm not sure if that's really an accurate description.
No, I wouldn't say so.
I think they just called that because it's very Resident Evil-like.
The first game in the series, I think, comes a little bit closer to that. But, no, the rest. I like 3 a lot, despite being kind of a contentious entry. But I do like...
Yeah, that's that French guy that's in, every movie ever made.
Jean Reno.
Yeah. That's a series I need to dig into. I've played a few minutes of the first one, but that's the extent of my experience with it. So
sure. Well, I think it's time to dig even deeper.
Oh no.
Yes. We're gonna dig into some of the expected.
The Audi, the normal Audi purchases.
Well, maybe some of these aren't, but most likely yes. Counterforce, which was, I think it was $3. I looked at the back and I was just like, okay, well, this looks contentious. So I had to pick it up. It seems to be some kind of rail shooter with a robot. I guess this robot.
That is a beautifully designed and beautifully rendered robot.
Yeah.
And also a beautifully rendered logo by Conspiracy Entertainment.
So, and that's what I noticed afterwards, Conspiracy Entertainment. Conspiracy Entertainment actually took over some of the licenses that Phoenix Games was holding on to. So this is just, continuing the legacy, the wonderful legacy of Phoenix Games. So I have high hopes for this game. We'll see who haunts with this one. But, it seemed like something that would make me cry. So I had to pick it up. This one was kind of interesting because this is by McCheskey, which is a toss-up whether or not it's good or not. Or should I say terrible or not. But we saw some things here that really piqued our interest. So, number one, Panic Button developed this. Okay. So we were like, whoa, okay.
They did all of these, the DF often talks about the impossible switch ports.
Yeah, I think they were involved in some very good ports. But yeah, Panic Button, I think Panic Button did quite a bit on Wii.
I think you're right. That name... I feel like that name entered my mind around that time.
Right. I had never heard of this. I tend to think that I'm pretty good at kind of keeping track of games across consoles, especially bad ones. This I've never heard of.
And I don't think we've said the title yet. Attack of the Movies 3D, which includes 4 pairs of 3D glasses.
And indeed, it did come with 3D glasses.
Unopened, no less.
Yeah. So yeah, this is interesting, right? Because this is a rail shooter. It looks very arcadey. We were actually wondering, is this based on a real arcade machine or something?
Yeah. Did you look into it all? You looks like you
time yet.
Looks you find a bunch of kaiju type. Well, there's skeletons and there's asteroids, I think, and a giant eel and a giant scorpion. But they're bursting through your TV in larger than life 3D.
it looks interesting. I think we should play this at some point.
Yes.
But yeah, had to pick it up. It was another one. I was like, I don't remember anymore, but it was in the single digits, and I was just like, yeah, I had to burp it up. Speaking of regurgitating up, Hulk Hogan's main event. You were kind of surprised that I don't already have this.
Well, I didn't actually look at this very closely. I was just commenting that, I'm surprised that you don't have every wrestling game, but I'm getting worried. I'm noticing the purple case here.
It is a Kinect game. It is actually, I think this has been nominated several times as the worst Kinect game ever made.
Wow.
But you might see McCheskey is back.
Okay.
Before you take it from me, though.
I want to look.
Yeah, you can look.
I desire to look closer.
Yes, I will give it to you. But there's just a few more things I have to say about it before you take it and reveal it before I can say it. Yeah, so actually I was at E3 when they showed this off. I did not meet Hulk Hogan because he was there to promote this.
Oh, okay.
Which was the only time he was at E3. But yeah, I remember going to like this showing of it, and the people, very nice people, demonstrating the game. It was very clear very quickly that, first of all, like they were not happy to be playing this game. Also, it didn't work on any level. It was just like the Kinect didn't recognize anything. So it was just kind of like this cavalcade of disasters for them. And I was just kind of sitting. I couldn't play it. I don't remember if press could even play it at the time.
I mean, I thought you just said that no one could play it.
Yeah, that's the thing. By the time I actually did try it at my friends, it's one of the worst games I've ever played.
I again. Did you? I mean, I don't. It sounds like it does not play.
Yeah, it's very bad, and I have a suspicion it's also very unfinished. The developer of this is Panic Button. Indeed. Concerning
about the quality of this,
yeah,
which
right?
we have some optimism about.
Yeah. Yeah, this was during the time that Hulk Hogan was at Impact Wrestling, which is called TNA back in the day. So I do think that there's some licensing there from them as well, but it is just I think I wrote in my book that it is in many ways the worst wrestling game ever made because it's just unplayable.
And you spent how much on it?
This is another one that was about like $5, I think. But I never got it because I don't recall this getting a PAL release. So I don't think I ever picked it up because it just never really like came to me, and I wasn't going to pre-order this.
Oh, I like how on the back, I don't have a lot of experience looking at Kinect games on here. That I'm very curious what the other verbs or descriptors they might use are, but it says here activity level, active,
very active.
Wow.
You can body slam people through the mat, brother. You can put the chair to their back.
Wow,
dude.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow.
Speaking of which, though, going through the tables and through the mats, these I didn't buy. You might see the price tags. Well, this is also at that Video Games World with the nice
Concord.
I went to Concord. I picked these up, and the guy was suddenly not so friendly anymore. He was very friendly, but he looked at the disc and he's just like, these would have gone in the trash for several reasons. I can't sell these to you. Like, I literally cannot sell these to you because the discs are just not in pristine condition, and the quality of these games are just like, why would you want them, by the way? And again, the reason is that this is from Conspiracy. Both of which I think are from Conspiracy. This is Bold Games, but I think that's actually a subsidiary, again, of Conspiracy. So the rabbit hole just keeps going deeper. But this is actually a port of that not Monster Truck, but Big Rigs or whatever.
Rig Racer 2.
Yeah, it's Rig Racer, I think, on PlayStation 2 as well. This is a Phoenix game ported to Wii. This is straight up a Phoenix game on Wii. So I was like, well, I'm going to pick this up. I have to continue the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Of
course. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't I? Like, I have nothing better to do with my life. And then this is Mini Desktop Racer, which is from Data Design, which is another company that came up again in the Ghost of Phoenix. And it looks very Phoenixy, of course, being from those same developers. So this just meant, you love the Ghost of Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're the biggest fan.
Yeah.
And people have been talking about just kind of like, who were these people? Like, how could they do this on PS2? Like, well, it was late in the PS2's era and whatnot. But here you can clearly see they continued on the Wii, which really speaks a little bit about the quality of Wii games and its shovelware, right? The fact that this could easily come out on that system during its peak lifetime.
Nintendo seal of quality.
Well, seal of something. Speaking of which, though, McCheskey just kept making my day, because I was so blowed out with Blowout. This was just one that we saw. This might be famous, this might be not. I never heard of it, but we saw that cover art. We saw that guy, and we were just like, well, you're gonna buy it, right? And yeah, be careful how you hold it. Be very careful.
Yeah, that's some quality CG characters.
Yeah, the back makes it look kind of like something like Bionic Commando Rearm. As I say,
which is a good game.
Yeah, but as I say that, I think you should put footage of the game on screen, because I'm sure we're gonna quickly discover that this is anything but that.
Oh, it's 2D. Yeah.
It might be great for all I know. I never heard of it, but again, it was single-digit price, and I was just kind of like, well, it seems like something people should see on my shelf, and kind of, well, of course you have this. So it is an art piece then. I guess it's not part of my game collection. It's just kind of part of my life. It's part of me. I think these games are more to me than just entertainment now. Mm-hmm. They're actually part of who I am.
I mean, art often comes from a place of pain.
Well, let's just say that the place this came from is very painful very often after eating Taco Bell. So, yeah, these were kind of the games that I picked up along with the 3D glasses. So these are kind of the, this type of era games that I picked up. You still, and I still have way too many games to talk about.
Yeah, this is true. We might need to speed this up. Oh,
do we?
Sorry for bumping the microphone. I don't know. Maybe we don't. People probably just want to listen to us for their entire work.
People have tuned out already, so that's fine.
So since
we're talking to each other at this point.
Yes. Well, you were just looking at Xbox games. Okay. So why don't I talk about Xbox games?
Go ahead.
I got Crazy Taxi 3.
Oh, I was asking you.
You were, and this was one of the... this might have been the very first game I grabbed off of a shelf and held in my hand and took up to the counter to purchase during this whole disaster of an extended weekend of game buying.
I see.
And I like me some Crazy Taxi.
All right.
And
you like Crazy Cats too, I heard.
And this seemed like a good one to get. I've got Crazy Taxi on the Dreamcast. I sort of have Crazy Taxi 2 because it was inside a junk Dreamcast I bought one time, but it's just a disc, so I don't consider it part of my collection.
All right.
I almost grabbed a Crazy Taxi 2 at some point over the weekend, but unlike Coury,
who can't buy everything you see.
Unlike Coury, who says, you should buy that.
Yeah.
Hey, you should get this.
You
should get this.
Yeah.
He was like, Crazy Taxi, since he knew I already bought this, he was like, Crazy Taxi 3 has all the levels in Crazy Taxi 2.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, you shouldn't get that because you got Crazy Taxi 3.
Okay. Hey. That's why the man has children.
But speaking of crazy vehicles, I also got
Big Bumpin',
which I think might be, it's up there on the best video game titles ever made.
Yeah, pretty much.
Big Bumpin'. It's just fun to say.
Big Bumpin' American Pinball.
Might be on some there. There's also Pocket Bike Racer, which it's so weird because I knew, I've already got Sneak King.
Pocket Bike. Oh, that's another one? I never heard of this.
Wait, really?
No. There's Sneak King?
So, okay, whoa. Okay, so this could be leading to interesting revelations for us both, because I had in my head there are 3 Burger King Xbox games.
Yeah.
And I have Sneak King already. I've had that for years.
Yeah.
I knew about Big Bumpin', but I never grabbed it until now.
Right.
And I feel like if I heard the name of the third, I always thought like, I can't remember what the third one is, but if I heard the name of it, I would. And then these were games that we picked up from Corey's childhood friend.
Yeah, Chris.
And Corey was like, oh, you should get this. And I'm like, oh. What? It's one of the Burger King games. I'm like, Pocket Bike Racer? I feel like I've literally never
heard of that.
I've never heard of this, yet I knew there were 3, and so...
What's the third one?
Is there a 4th? Is this the 3rd? Like, so we're both having this similar memory of, like, there are 3 games, but we had never heard of this one.
I think this is like the Mandela effect.
I guess.
Yeah. There's the 4. I guess that's not Mandela effect. This is the Shazam, right? Like where it's like Sinbad rather than Shaq was it? I don't know these things.
I'm noticing looking at this cover here, which is like, I mean, it kind of looks...
Look very closely at it. I didn't notice.
I mean, it almost looks like I mean, it looks like actual painted cover, similar to like, you know, what it looks like paint to me. And I notice at the bottom there is like a little signature that says like Soli. So maybe it says Sorely. Maybe you painted this.
This was I totally forgot. You know, the Burger King just came to me and was like, can you do something like a Drew Struzan Pocket Bike Racer? And I was like, yeah, of course. I will have it on your desk post haste.
But
get it out of my face.
So then, you know, Gears of War. This is a series that I've always kind of wanted to play, but like I've never played. Like I have like the remastered one or whatever on Xbox One of the first, and
I never liked these.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I really like Uncharted. You know, I liked this was kind of the beginning of like the cover shooter, the third person cover shooter phase. I don't really know what I'm going to think of this series, but I mean, they're cheap games. I think I already have access to them digitally, but like I have this thing where I just can't commit to playing through like a game that I own for free digitally. Like I need a physical copy to feel the motivation to play it. So there it is. I grabbed this Batman Arkham Origins because
great game.
Oh yeah, you're. I mean, Arkham Asylum is I've only played Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and I love Arkham Asylum because I feel like it's one of the best 3D Metroidvanias ever made.
I suppose so.
Arkham City, I didn't like the shift to open world in that so much. And I think this is more like Arkham City than Arkham Asylum. I think it is an open world kind of.
I even like the handheld version of this, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah. And so the reason I actually kind of grabbed this right away was because Corey was like, "Oh, you should get this." He was like, "You should get this. This is a disc-only backwards compatible game."
Oh, is that so?
It's one of the ones that you can't like actually buy on the store. You know, there's a few that's like, I think Assassin's Creed 1 is that way. I think the Prince of Persia, like the cel-shaded reboot is that way.
Or what?
I don't know, but I guess that means like they can distribute it, but they can't sell it, I guess, because you still have to like download the data.
Yeah.
But this is one of the, there are a handful of these disc-only backwards compatible games. So, you know, I thought, well, that's interesting. Good way to play. That's the one that wasn't developed by Rocksteady. Also got Lost Planet 2 and 3. You know, kind of similar to Gears. I'm not really sure what I'm going to think of these. I have Lost Planet 1. I've played a little bit of it. It feels very dated, but it feels interesting just because of some of its quirks feel very acceptable given the time frame it came out. And I assume these are probably a bit more normalized and they're like modernized in their controls, I would guess.
I really like 2.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm not sure how much you're gonna like 3, but I would say that 2.
I've imagined Lost Planet 3 probably goes, like, I think it's a online co-op game, kind of like like Dead Space 3. You know, that kind of went off in a different direction. But I mean, you know, you just kind of want to getting those games over with. Then there is Enslaved Odyssey to the West.
Oh yeah.
Which I originally played that on PS3. I have the PS3 version. John Linneman, however, always brings that up as one of his favorite examples of a game that runs so bad on PS3.
Awful. And the last areas are like unplayable.
I mean, I played it. You know,
okay.
we back in that era
unbeatable.
On PS3, we just accepted, you know, bad frame rates. We didn't really think of it sometimes.
I didn't. That's why I didn't really play games during that era.
But I'm pretty sure this is backwards compatible. I think so. Probably.
Yeah, it could be.
If so, it runs. But either way, it should run a lot better on 360. I really like this game. You know, I really like Ninja Theory. Like
they do some pretty good stuff.
Yeah,
they're a bit hit and miss for me, but overall, very comfortable.
I really like Hellblade like a lot.
Yeah.
And I've played a little bit of like Heavenly Sword. Looking forward to playing more of that. And this is a good game.
Yeah.
And this was another Coury. You know, you should get this.
Yeah, you should get that.
You should get this. This is this is Cubed, which has a lot of Mizuguchi.
Yep. So that has Luminize, right?
It has Luminiz Live. It has every extend extra extreme.
Okay.
And Res HD. And I think it's backwards compatible. I'm not sure.
It's like over 100 titles.
Yeah. So I avoided Mizuguchi's games for the longest time because I have no musical talent, no rhythm. I can't play rhythm games. And when I played Tetris Effect, I played Lumines on the PSP when it launched.
Okay.
But, you know, just thought it was okay. Didn't really think that much about it. But when I got Tetris Effect, it like clicked with me like, wait, like everyone calls these music games. Everyone lumps these in with your Parappa the Rappers and Jammer Lammies and Owen Dons and whatever. But it's a music game only in the sense that it is about music, but you're not playing to a rhythm. You are just playing the game, and what your actions like create these beautiful sounds, but it has nothing to do with trying to, you know, hit something on the beat or anything. And that it creates this really surreal and awesome and just beautiful atmosphere and visuals and sounds and sensation through the controller itself. And that experience playing Tetris Effect like made me go back and like I played through Child of Eden, and it also made me interested in Res and kind of renewed my interest and appreciation for Lumines as well.
I think based on that towel-worthy description, I think you would really like a game called Otoki on Famicom Disk System.
Yeah, so I that's another one. I mean, I know that is commonly cited as one of the best, if not the best, Famicom Disk System game. And I'm glad you told me that, because I again heard that described as a music game, and I've kind of ignored it because of that. Yeah. So that is another thing where it's like you're just playing the game normally. It doesn't like, could you play that game with the sound off, for example?
You can absolutely play it.
Yeah, right. So I mean, that's the key. Like, it's a visual game.
But why would you?
I know, but I'm a visual person in terms of how I play the games, and
it's like a metronome shooter.
Okay, so like the idea that the sounds or whatever is created through your actions and not so much that you're trying to time to the sounds. That is a really appealing and enjoyable experience to me.
Yeah. So Otoki, I think it should definitely be high on your to get list.
Okay. Well, you know, before we switch off again, I'll just throw this out there because a lot of those games came from the Grid, which is kind of the Goodwill operated electronics and game store here in Charlotte. They moved recently. I went once with Coury and once with Audi. And these were the first times I've been to their new location. They had a sealed copy of The Outer Worlds. It's marked Xbox One used, but it was sealed. It's sealed. It's $11, and it's a game I've been interested in. So why not? Why not get The Outer Worlds?
Why not?
For $11 sealed.
We're actually nearing the end.
We kind of are. I don't have a lot left over here.
So I'll kind of go for my pile.
You did get a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, because you were talking about the grid.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope I didn't break the cart by doing that.
It does look a little worn.
But I did get this, which is Mighty Morphing Power Rangers, which is like $10.
Is it, who did it? Bandai. Okay.
Yeah. And it's actually quite decent. It's a single plane action game, somewhat similar to, say, Ninja Warriors, something like that. It's not as good as Ninja Warriors, especially on Super Nintendo. But I like it. There's good music, and I was never a big fan of Power Rangers, I have to admit.
It never, I was right at that threshold age where, like, I had some friends on my street that were 2 years younger than me, and they were, like, way into it, and I was, like, a little past that, but, yeah, I've never got... I like the idea of, like, tokusatsu.
Well, tokusatsu is, like, that's more like metal-based heroes, like Kamen Rider and stuff like that. Okay. Whereas this would be called like Sentai.
Okay, I thought Sentai was like the name of the show itself, not the genre.
Sentai is basically, well, yes, but Sentai is also a genre in the sense that, like, generally due to the name even, if you read the Japanese, like Sentai is like 5 heroes. It usually is.
Oh, okay.
So it's always a team. It can sometimes deviate from that 5, but generally, like with Power Rangers, you have that. So, and it was introduction of that to the U.S. market. Though Kamen Rider did come out as Masked Rider at some point for a single season. But yeah, it's a pretty good game, and I was never a big fan back then of this. Nowadays, I kind of come around more to the series. Just because it's so 90s with those.
Oh yeah. I mean, the concepts appeal to me, but I just have not delved into it as an adult. Yeah,
it's weird. I think it appeals to me more as an adult, just for nostalgia.
Yeah.
Than it did ever as a kid. Because I was a Ninja Turtles kid, and I never let go of Ninja Turtles still to this day. So, I picked it up. It was a cheap one, and that was also at the grid. So, I did pick up a few other games. I'm just gonna go through them because there's no other like segue into these, so like why even bother? Other than the fact that of course it looks terrible. This is one Olympic Summer Games by US Gold Sports and ADOS.
What called you to this over any other Olympic or
I should say I am not a sports person. I was actually somewhat gifted in the athletics as a kid, but I didn't care for sports. But this appealed to me because I thought this looked familiar to me. I wasn't sure why. It might just be that like bad games called to me. It whispers to me in my sleep.
Yes.
But I thought this would look familiar. We looked at the back of the screenshots, and like the characters are literal just polygons of a bygone era, right? It's just like,
I mean, they are they polygons of a bygone era? I think they're polygons of an era that never was.
That could be, but I did find out that it actually was because.
Let me talk.
Let me touch my own game.
There's things I cannot describe.
Yeah, so it says it has 3D CGI render graphics and all this stuff. This is actually a 3DO game.
Okay.
That's where I remembered it from, and it actually like retained. I guess is a direct port, and it's one of the few that I know of that like looks this similar to the 3DO game. Perhaps maybe only from 3DO to PlayStation. So I have to look more into that, but I looked up some footage after I bought it, because of course, who would want to look at the footage of the game before you buy it? You do it after. But it looked mesmerizingly terrible, painfully so, but it looked like the 3DO game on PlayStation. So I was very curious about this. I picked it up, and I guess I'll have to play with John Lidman at some point to satisfy my own senses. I also picked up this because, again, it's just one of those variations I don't have. I don't have the US version of EZW, Hardcore Revolution, a wrestling game that was released across N64, PlayStation, and Dreamcast.
So you don't own any version for any platform?
No, I don't own this version. The
Dreamcast version.
Dreamcast US version.
Okay.
The Acclaim wrestlers like WWF Attitude and whatnot were terrible games. They were a little bit popular at the time. This game was kind of noted for it. By the time this came out, that engine, that graphic style was completely out of date. And when you play this on Dreamcast, it's very apparent because this does not look like a Dreamcast game. It is not very good. But it was kind of a novelty to see ECW.
As a relative wrestling outsider, I'm struck by the M rating on that. Is that unusual among wrestling games?
So it is a bit unusual because ECW was a very intense wrestling organization. This game has a lot of blood. You can also do like barbed wire matches, things like that. I never liked that stuff, and so I never really watched ECW. So not for me, but I did pick up the game because
wrestling.
And I checked on my collector's software, and in my wrestling category, I'm nearing about 400 games. Going Quackers, we all are.
Yeah.
So this one you were asking me about.
I am really interested in giving this a try.
Yeah. So I always sing the praises of these games. The reason why I bought this one is that, again, it was boxed. It has a bit of sun fade, but not bad. For the price, I was like, well, I'll pick it up because the box is like all unused.
Yeah.
But I love Donald Duck. I did a big article on Hardcore Gaming back in the day with every Donald Duck game. We talked about that on DF during the Quackshot video. During this era, Going Quackers on Game Boy Color and Donald Duck Advance on Game Boy Advance.
Donald Duck Advance, that's what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called. These games are extremely good, but they were relegated as just poor ports down to in magazines and stuff. It was just like it would get like 30% because it was like it's the game on N64, Dreamcast, whatever, but on a lower platform.
Yeah.
That's not what it is at all.
Let me take a look at this.
Yeah, of course.
Gainer at these screenshots.
These games actually harken back to the Master System type of games, and kind of follow that formula, and are actually really good.
I love the Master System and Game Gear Donald Duck games. Those are developed by Sega.
Yeah.
And this is
by Ubisoft.
This is by Ubisoft, so it's Western developed, but it's really interesting to hear that they kind of just aped that style because it works. I mean, those are very simple platformers, but they're good gaming comfort food.
Yeah. Give these a try if you haven't. Both Donald Duck Advance and this different games. But if you like the 2D Donald Duck games and kind of want more of that Sega Disney magic, this isn't quite that good, but it's very close. And people really haven't given this enough of a shot.
I was looking for it at other stores after you picked that up.
I will say though that Going Quackers, it's called Quack Attack in Europe, which is a superior name.
I remember reading about that game in Nintendo Power for the N64, but that name, but obviously it's a totally different game because it's for Game Boy Color.
Yeah. But the whole series, if you find any version of this, Dreamcast, PlayStation, GameCube, PlayStation 2, N64, any of them, pick it up. And all of them pick them up because they're all different from one another.
Yeah? Like considerably different.
Yeah, some are very
different. Yeah.
So
that was a good era of Ubisoft, actually. I mean, the best, probably.
Yeah, I'm a huge Donald Duck fan. This was a huge thing for me when these came out. I actually picked up most of these games as they came out.
Nice.
And I wrote a huge piece on this in that Donald Duck article. Interestingly enough, we found this, which it's not a great game, unfortunately.
This was at GameSwap along with this video Game Swap in Lincolnton, North Carolina, which is a little further away than I normally go. I hadn't been there in about 4 years.
But you might notice that's a
super European property with a
US
super
spine.
American spine. Yes.
Yeah. So
you didn't even know this came out here.
No, I guess not. I mean, I must have seen it throughout my days, but like I have all of the Asterix games in PAL format and whatnot. But I didn't know this because very few of them were released in the US. This is one of them, and first of all, like, look at the condition it's in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
and it would cost nothing, and like, but I just didn't know, like, why would I find this in Lincolnton, North Carolina? Who bought this and who didn't want it? Because no one played this again, apparently. Unfortunately, it's just not a good game. None of the Genesis or Mega Drive Asterix games are good comparatively to
the Master System ones. Look awesome from what I've tried. Yeah, I've always been fascinated by the Asterix character because when my cousin went to France, I was young. She's about 7 years older than me, and she brought me back an Asterix comic book. And even though I couldn't read it, like the character has always intrigued me ever since. And I actually bought, like, sight unseen, a really cheap Asterix Game Gear game when I was actually in that G2K store that we were in South Carolina. I think it was like about 3 years ago. And I bought that because I was just like, wait, Asterix games came out in the US? Like, that just completely surprised me. And then I took a picture of my haul, and you're like, oh, actually, that's one of the few not good Asterix games.
Unfortunately, the Mega Drive, it doesn't have any good Asterix.
Or Game Gear, I guess.
Yeah.
At least that Game Gear one.
Yeah, no, there's no good one there too. And, much like Donald Duck, this is another, property that I wrote a complete retrospective on for Hardcore Gaming back in the 2009, 2008, at least up until then, the Asterix complete retrospective. So there's probably ways to find it if you go to archive and whatnot. But this is not the greatest one, but I do collect all the Asterix games, so I picked it up as I saw it for that good of a price. So we have a few games left.
We're getting actually kind of close. So let's grab this stack here. Oh, do we have a doggy visitor? There's games falling on you, Sandy. I'm so sorry. That's what happens around here.
Give it to me. I want the dog.
This I actually got this before we went to the limited run store. This was when me and Coury went to the grid. This was the first of the MotorStorm games I grabbed, and yeah, look at that, Sandy. Smell the Arctic edge on that MotorStorm. Again, John Linneman is a great salesman for classic games. I was just like, okay, I want this as well as all the other MotorStorm games. So I'm noticing here that there's a $11.99 and a $7.99 price to grab, but I think the $7.99 is that $11.99 must be someone else's. So I guess it went down price, or either the grid just gave it a great price. So I'm looking forward to playing these games. Another game I got at the grid, like, I forgot this even exists. Donkey Kong Barrel Blast,
which was kind of the. It's not the same game, but remember when the GameCube was announced, right?
Yes.
Donkey Kong Racing.
Yes, if I pull this down and create a Jenga disaster. Oh. Yes, on the back of my launch day GameCube box, there is, in fact, Shot E. It calls it Donkey Kong Racing with the Rareware logo in the corner.
I got a VHS, I remember, from my Club Nintendo, which was a European club thing. And that VHS has a trailer of it, like a CG trailer.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's on YouTube and stuff. You can find it. I'm sure you can put some footage on screen right now of it, but that's not the same game.
No, it's not. Was this developed by the same people that did the Jungle Climber or whatever? I mean, I'm not sure who made that.
It's Pound. Yep.
Is that?
I don't know if that's the same. But Pound. What else did they do?
So this is 2007. So this is pretty early Wii, actually. I just, and after I bought this, I was like, I looked at it and it struck me. I'm like, I just feel like I've never really seen this, or I forgot about it. And then I started seeing it all over the place. Like, I feel like that era of Donkey Kong was just something that I had like trained myself to just like ignore and not see. But I was like, you know what? Like, I ain't afraid of no waggle. I ain't afraid of no motion controls.
It still isn't good though.
Maybe it's not that bad.
I've played it.
It says on here, I mean, just to sell everyone on this game, it says, shake the Wii remote and nunchuck to race. And on the back, it has these diagrams of how to play, and it shows a blurry nunchuck and Wii remote shaking up and down, and it says, accelerate! I'm sure everyone is just dying to play it now.
We were talking in the car today about like how I find it very difficult to motivate myself to go back to Wii. I do love a lot of games on Wii, but just the whole setup, just the image quality, and just like, the sensor bar, the batteries.
I'll admit I turn it on less often than most of my other systems, but I like the Wii. I'm a defender of the Wii. I have an unpopular opinion that like I kind of like the Wii a little bit more than the GameCube.
Oh, no.
That's not a popular opinion. No,
I can't agree with that. I can't sanction such buffoonery.
Then this is Excitebots Trick Racing, which actually it says Nintendo in the corner. I actually didn't think Nintendo published this. I thought this was, I can't remember the name of the developer who made Excite Truck.
Next level?
What the people who did is it the people that did Punch Out and Luigi's Mansion 2 and 3?
Yeah.
That's what I kind of thought. But I couldn't remember their name for sure.
Usually it's weird because usually it does say the developer on the back of Wii games. I can't see it here.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I kind of thought that's what it was. But for some reason, I thought this was a third-party published thing, and this was just them doing their own thing with another publisher and just still calling it Excite. I've only played a little Excite Truck.
That was pretty fun.
But it's generally considered very fun. I had fun with what I played with my cousins back in the day. I did later pick up a copy of myself, but I haven't played it much since. And I remembered that those people made another game, and for the longest, I could not remember for the life of me what it was called. And then when I saw this in Video Game World the other day, I was like, that's it, Excitebots. That's what it was. And I don't know. I don't know if this is considered as good as Excite Truck or not, but I mean, those people are very good. They're good developers. They make good stuff. I seem to recall
that people really did enjoy this, but I never played it. I don't know why.
Yeah, so I thought I'd give that a try.
Yeah, people were very hyped for this. When it came out.
Yeah. And then you reminded me. You pointed this out, and I didn't notice it. Is Marble Saga Kororimpa, which I might have known about these back in the day, and I think I was intrigued by them, but I kind of forgot. And I was reminded of them when Joe from GameSack covered this and Kororimpa 2 in a recent-ish GameSack video. And if I recall, I think he said he liked the first one better.
That could be.
Because he's a huge fan of Super Monkey Ball and really likes sort of the feel of, mastering the control of how the marble goes. And his criticism, if I recall correctly, I believe his criticism of the second game was it's a little too sticky, just less about, moving that ball around the board. So in this, I love Marble Madness. I love Monkey Ball. So I think this is right up my alley.
Yeah. Good game.
And of all things, I got a couple of PS5 games. This I actually forgot in my limited run. This was another Coury,
You should get that.
You should get this. Terminator Resistance Enhanced. I'm not sure when this was originally released, but this is kind of like a...
I was not familiar with this at all.
Double A-ish, if even that tier production.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a small team. It's a first-person shooter that is considered like a true sequel to Terminator 2. Like it takes place in the future war, which is like not that appealing to me. To me, Terminator is about people from the future traveling to the past with the intention to change or preserve what happens in the future.
Right.
That to me is what Terminator is, and I feel like the past war is almost a MacGuffin in a sense. It's not a thing you're seeking out or trying to get, but it's like it's an excuse for the plot that happens, and the future war itself is not important. The events of that are not important. Right. I've never seen Terminator Salvation.
That's what we're trying to avoid.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I've never seen Terminator Salvation. And I don't really want to.
Yeah, that's not a very good movie.
No,
but
and
I personally find it kind of interesting to at least like explore future wars interactively.
Sure. Well, and so we actually popped this in the other night and try a little bit. I mean, it feels kind of like almost like a PS3 game with maybe some updated assets or something like that.
There was a lot of stealth in it compared to what we expected.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't seem like amazing or anything, but it does perhaps seem of surprising quality for what it is. At least it is a little bit expensive though. It was like a $60 game at the limited run game store.
It was a PS5 game.
It is PS5. So I was surprised by the price, but I mean, Coury did enough of a salesman's job. I don't even know if he's played it. He just said you should get it.
I should just get it.
You should just get it. I got it.
I thought maybe this was like a arcade port that the rail shooter, not T2, but there was like...
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering, is that it? But no, I was really just not familiar with this game at all. I'm not like... Because of work and stuff, I just can't keep up with like random games like this. I mean, Terminator isn't random necessarily, but like, there's just so many.
I just never would have expected that to be considered good, but here we are.
We did like what we played.
I also just grabbed this randomly at a store that you bought nothing. This was at Gamers Alley. Yeah.
Cool store.
Cool store, but the prices were a little hard to see on like the older games, and so that kind of turned me off. I think they actually were on them, but you just couldn't see them. So it just the layout of the store. I mean, if y'all are listening, like I've liked Gamers Alley in the past, but the past two visits, maybe up your presentation on the retro stuff. It might make me more inclined to want to grab it.
It's always better if you're gonna put games like this, like stack them up.
Yeah.
Put this price sticker there.
Yeah. It makes me not even want to ask, But this, the more recent generation systems that were very visible in the price stickers ones, and I've not played through Neo or Neo 2. I have Neo 1 on PS4, but since I haven't played it yet, I thought it'd be good to have the enhanced version on PS5. Yeah. Plus, this gives me a good version of Neo 2. Yeah. And it was only $20. I feel like I mean, it was used, but in great shape, of course, and I thought that was a good price for a PS5 game, especially a PS5 game that comes with 2 discs and 2 games.
Now, see, since John Lemon is not here, let's just channel John Lemon a bit, because let's talk about like pricing, right? Digitally, I'm sure this is probably up there. I don't know, but in general, the fact that you can go into store and just find a physical game at bargain bin or outlet sales, things like that.
I mean, $10 per game in that collection.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Already you see some of the benefits of still going physical.
Because, I mean, those digital store prices, sure, they go on sale, but I feel like they almost never get as low as what you could get a physical copy for if you just looked around a bit.
Yeah. So, no. Let's keep it physical.
Yeah. So, I've got a stack of PlayStation games and a stack of handheld games left. How much of your stack remains? Should I continue or should we trade off? Did you do this stack?
No, I'll do that last because technically I didn't buy it.
Oh, okay.
But I can talk a little bit about these shortly. I did pick up a couple PlayStation 2 games. This was at the Grid. This is Neo Contra.
Great game. You would not expect top-down Contra to be good.
Yeah.
Like, I assumed this game was bad for the longest time, and when I finally played it, it just, like, blew my socks off.
Yeah. This is a very good game. I like this and Shattered Soldier. Yeah, I like both. I have Shattered Soldier. I do not have Neo Contra.
Yeah. This game is a little more forgiving than Shattered Soldier. But if you want to get like the best endings, you have to. They have a really brutal score system that is like extremely hard to do. But this is a little easier to play through than Shattered Soldier.
Yeah. So it was just cheap, and it was like, well, I don't have it. Let's go for it.
Great, and honestly hilarious game.
Yeah. The other game I picked up is Jet Li's Rise to Honor. You might be asking why. You had some familiarity with it.
I did have some familiarity with it,
So
yes.
obviously I have a lot of familiarity with it, but I don't have the US version. I'm currently writing a new book, which I'm pretty far into. Is called Hong Kong Action Games, and is a book that explores the influence and impact of Hong Kong action film onto video games, and vice versa. And what now?
I just wanted to look at it.
Oh, you just want to look at it.
I just wanted to look.
Oh. So
just look at these pictures.
Tell me. Okay,
what I see is like some pretty awesome looking action on the back of this box, honestly. So the thing that intrigued me about this game, years ago, I started a series that I am only like 3 games into, to be honest.
Right.
I need to continue it, where I called it Rare After Nintendo, because as a Nintendo guy who didn't own an Xbox during that generation, I've always wanted to go back and sort of judge the rare games for myself, and like, are they really as bad as people say? And the first one was Grabbed by the Ghoulies, which was actually, I thought, a great start to Rare's After Nintendo life, because that game is beat up on so much, and I think it's actually kind of really good.
Right.
And the thing that was so fun about it to me was that you kind of use the right stick in a way that you don't use in a lot of other games, where you point the right stick in a direction and that's the direction you attack.
Yep.
Now I kind of said, like, in the video, I said, like, I really like this concept, like, but I don't know of any other games that play like this. And I asked the audience, like, is there anything else? And people said, hey, there's a Jet Li game on PS2 that's a lot like that.
Yeah. So you use both sticks, and it's a very dynamic way of fighting. The Nina Williams.
I was going Death by Degrees, right?
I've
kind of been keeping. I keep forgetting, but I've wanted to keep my eye out for that as well.
I like Death by Degrees, and people. I think that needs a revisit from some people that can articulate that game better than back then. But yeah, this is a very good game. And it has progressive game. Not a
bad feature for PS2.
So PS2 has some interesting Hong Kong affiliated games, which I will write about in my book. There's this, of course. There is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which came out, which was a big movie at the time. There was also John Woo's Stranglehold, which has Chow Yun-fat, which is a big from The Killer and such films. But yeah, it's just an interesting kind of, this is the Romeo Must Die era of Jet Li. I think he had done the one, kind of the American, he had a breakthrough in America at the time and was kind of like the new action hero after Jackie Chan in the Western market. And games like these I explore in this new book.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to your next game.
Yeah, well, let's do my handheld stack, which is very small. And in fact, it is just 2 Game Gear games and 2 GBA games.
All right.
For Game Gear.
Now, picking up handheld games is extremely fun these days. Why is that?
Because the Analog Pocket makes it a lot easier to play Game Gear games, for one. In fact, I don't have a real Game Gear. I mean, I have one, but it's broken. And I just opened it up for it so I can take motherboard shots. So before then, my only way to play Game Gear cartridges was the Mega SG, which has a Game Gear adapter. But the Analog Pocket does, it's got that really convincing sort of screen filter effect that's better than any comparable thing I've seen for Game Gear. And it respects the aspect ratio. It's not a square aspect ratio system. And yeah, like that, I've actually not tried the dock since they updated it to allow the screen effects on TV.
It looks great.
It looks good for Game Gear. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. They really nailed that. So Some of these might be fun to stream sometime.
Yeah.
The first of the Game Gear games I got was Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Which is something that I've seen John and Audi comment on before.
Yeah, I love this game. It's also on Master System.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, actually a pretty darn good licensed game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm looking forward to playing that. It's sort of a variety game. Like there's several different modes. Like there's some like side-scrolling shooting sections with the Jeep and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I also got Revenge of DrangCon. What the heck is Revenge of DrangCon? Mm-hmm. It's just Wonder Boy. Yeah. It's straight up the Master System version of Wonder Boy, basically. I mean, it's I don't think it's one of those like Master System ROMs on a Game Gear kart games like Castle of Illusion is. Mm-hmm. I think it's cropped and converted properly, but I'm not 100% positive. But it's just Wonder Boy. I like Wonder Boy games. I like to collect those.
Unless you have to buy the collector's edition and retail edition separately.
Yeah, that's a mess all on its own.
Yes.
But yeah, and I got Banjo Pilot. You know, perhaps useful for the rare after Nintendo series that I just mentioned. At some point, I mean, gosh, I mean, it could take me years to do all this, but I kind of do want to. I've kind of thought about maybe doing like their Nintendo handheld games and like kind of just its own episode. Mm-hmm. I actually tried this on the Mister. Which looked really interesting with the Game Boy core has a feature that I don't think kind of exists in any other core with like 3D or sprite rotation type effects where you can actually render it like 2 times the resolution. Yeah. So it looks a little weird, like combine like low res and high res assets. Yeah. But this game actually looked really neat and smooth with like the character sprites kind of turning as they fly around. So actually a pretty interesting gameplay on Mister, but I like to have the original cartridge if I'm actually going to commit to playing through the game, as always. But then I was really surprised by the price of this game. I don't think this is like an unusually low price. It was $7, Iridian 3D.
Yeah, great game.
I have Iridian 2. Mm-hmm. Which this is called Iridian 3D, which makes you think that it's based on a previous game called Iridian. It's not. No. It's just called. This is the first game. It's called Iridian 3D. Iridian 2. These are both. These guys are kind of what you term like demo scene people. Are these the people that went on to do like the Tourist, or am I thinking of someone else?
Shinnon?
Is this Shinnon?
I think so. You're asking me on top of my head now. Let's just say yes. But Iridian,
Yeah, I mean, this one has like the Iridian 2 is more of a behind the ship shooter view. This one, if I recall, is this more over the top? But it's still got a very interesting 3D effect. I mean, when we say these are demo scene people, like they make a look on the Game Boy Advance that's very unlike what you would expect of Game Boy Advance graphics. It's very 3D, very advanced looking. They're really interesting looking games visually. Yeah. So yeah, those are my handheld games. Anything else you got there, or should I go to my last stack, which is PS1?
Let's go. I'll do my last purchase, and then you can do your last stack. And then I will do my last batch, which will be gifts. Okay. Okay. So this was probably the find of the week for me. And I think this was at...
This was at the Lost Ark in Greensboro.
Okay, yeah. Lost Ark in Greensboro, they had clearly gotten a MSX collection in, because we found a lot of MSX games there.
And computers.
And computers. There was an MSX1. There was a couple of MSX2s. There was, I think it was an MSX2 Plus there as well. They just had a lot of MSX stuff. Mostly just cartridges, loose cartridges. But a couple of box games. One of which, of course, was...
Dracula.
Yeah, Vampire Killer. Akamoto Dracula. This is a somewhat hard to find game. It's not super uncommon, I should say. But, being that it is a MSX2 Castlemania, it's always going to be pricey. And similar to the NES #1, but very different in how it's set up. It's
the artwork is the same as the NES.
Yeah. Artwork is the same, but it's a single screen experience. So each room is a single screen. You have to find keys to unlock doors. It's very different setup than the NES game. Music is a little bit expanded. I don't remember if this has SCC support. I don't think so. SCC being that sound cartridge that Konami did. But nonetheless, really good game, a really good price, I should say. I don't know if it's been there forever and they just never updated the price, whatever they did. I accept and humbly bought it. But like, yeah, this is just like one of those where it's like really good condition, complete inside, has a manual of all that beautiful artwork. And yeah, it's just exciting, you know. Castlemania on the MSX. I love the MSX. I don't think you play much of it.
I've never played a real one. I mean, I've seen them before. Well, I might have played a real one at some point, but it intrigues me because they're not quite like Famicom games, but they're in the ballpark for computer games. They're in the ballpark of Famicom games.
Depends on, so MSX1 is very close to ColecoVision. Okay. Very similar hardware. You can kind of port over games between. MSX2 is when you get into the NES, like yeah, kind of FDS era of games.
Yeah.
Very similar. And then beyond that, you have lots of different. There's a lot of great Konami titles on MSX.
Yeah.
SD Snatcher, Metal Gear, Penguin Adventure, Antarctic Adventure. And my buddy Tom back home, hello Tom, grew up with the MSX. He had a Dutch friend or something, Dutch neighbor or something, who had the MSX and a lot of games. So he grew up with MSX and has a pretty good collection. So I actually played MSX when I grew up, including this, from his collections. I was very lucky. You know, there's not common to come by an MSX in Norway or anywhere else really outside Japan. But Tom has it, and he still has a huge collection. He still collects pretty much exclusively MSX games.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he has a lot, and I'm sure he watches this right now and feels very, very jealous that I have this. So this was the last of my real purchases.
Well, not the last that you... This was one of your first, actually. But
that I'm going to feature today.
Yes,
this episode, that's... How long?
We're not
3 hours.
We're not going to talk about that. So, my last stack is PS1 games.
All right.
And this is the Neversoft Spider-Man game for PlayStation 1. You know, I mean, you would think this would be a super common game, but, you know, it's $35. Creeping up a little bit, you know. And it's from what I've played, it's a very good game.
Oh, I love this game.
A friend of mine was very excited to pick this up as soon as it came out, and I watched him play. And this was like, you know, Spider-Man was a character I was aware of course, but like I didn't know anything about him. And this was like my first exposure. Like this came out before like the Sam Raimi movie.
Yeah.
And this was my first exposure to the idea that like, oh, like Spider-Man is a nerd. Yeah. Oh, Spider-Man is a photographer. Like Spider-Man is like me. Yeah. You know? So that was you know, this so I never saw him play a lot of it, but you know, I saw the beginning of the game when he got it on day one.
Yeah.
And yeah, like whenever I've booted up this game on like the X Station, or I try with the PS1 beta core on the Mister, like it's just like it's really impressive.
Well, Neversoft you should mention. What else did they do?
I mean, they did Tony Hawk, which I mean, I also tried that on the Mister, and like I'm not a skateboarding guy, but I was immediately like, whoa. Like, I remember watching friends play back in the day, but it had been so long since I'd seen it in action that it really renewed an appreciation for me for like, wow, this game looks good. It animates really well. The controls are great. And even though I don't even like skateboarding, like, I kind of want to play this now. That really surprised me that I had that reaction. And, you know, this game, very much carries that same sort of technical chops and game design chops.
Has with narration by Stan Lee. Has lots of unlockable costumes.
Yeah. And you swing from building to building, just like, and you know, I believe it's probably more of a linear experience, which will, you know, I kind of stopped playing the PS4 Spider-Man game because I just got bored of the open world structure, you know?
I have to admit that I'm also very bored of that PS4 game.
Yeah.
I think we're the ones that
the only ones, like people like John and Coury who are also kind of over some of the open world formulas a lot of times. Both of them loved that game, and I want to give it another chance. I want to give it another chance, but I got bored playing that, man. I just couldn't finish it.
It has a Dreamcast version.
Is it good? I mean, this is
very similar.
This is the iconic version, though. It was designed from the ground up for PS1. Bramley, I mean, $10. Tomb Raider this is Tomb Raider 4. You know, I've got Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 on PS1. Haven't played through them.
It's another Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
it's the one where they killed her.
Oh, I guess I'll have to find out if that's true.
Yeah, well, considering that there were sequels after.
I'll have to think about it. No, I mean, Tomb Raider is a series that, like, I've always been intrigued by the sort of, the platforming in them is very methodical. You kind of have to, like, you almost like preload your jumps by like holding the button, and you have to really commit to your jumps. I heard someone once describe it as a tactical platformer.
But see, you don't like the rotoscope games, right? Flashback, first person. This is very much a continuation.
You're right. And maybe when I actually get around to playing through the Tomb Raider games, maybe they'll prepare me to go back to those rotoscope games, and maybe I'll be like, oh, or maybe it's completely fruitless that I've bought these games. I'm going to hate them, and I don't know.
I'm not the biggest fan of Tomb Raider, but you know, they're fun enough.
This is well, I'll just say I'll just hold both of these up here because these
amazing games.
These are more of the games I bought off of Chris.
Okay.
You know, he sent Coury a photo of the games he had that he wanted to sell a while back, and like I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy Tenchu and Tenchu 2 off of him. You know, it's interesting you're saying this is an amazing game because I don't know why he holds this opinion, but Coury thinks that Tenchu 2 is like a big disappointment for some reason.
So it's very much the same as the first, and I don't find the mission structures as interesting as this one. I don't find the so the music in the first one is just incredible. I find Tenchu 2 to be very subdued in comparison. It does introduce some new features and elements and moves, but I just think that like the Tenchu 1, the leap that was needed was next generation, and that's why when you get to Wrath of Heaven, the third game, that is one of the best games I played on PlayStation 2. Wow. I love Wrath of Heaven.
I almost bought a copy today, but it was way over. Oh, I didn't almost buy it, but I mean, I was like, ooh, show me that game, and now I saw the price tag. It was way overpriced.
Tenchu 2 is just kind of like subdued compared to this.
Yeah. A friend of mine got Tenchu 1 back in the day, and he got day one, and he was kind of making a decision between, because I think it came out around the same time as Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the publicity, because they always showed like Rikimaru like on the wall, like creeping along, which was the exact same move.
Right.
I mean, this was a little bit before, actually. And interestingly enough, Shokusugi, the ninja in like Revenge of the Ninja, Enter the Ninja, all those kind of movies, the 80s ninja movies, he did the motion capture.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So my friend was like, he was making a decision between Tenchu and Metal Gear Solid, like what to spend his money on. They're both stealth games. And, you know, stealth was really hot at the time. You know, Metal Gear Solid especially popularized it. And when he ultimately decided on Tenchu because he was reading reviews like, oh, Metal Gear Solid is super short.
Yeah.
And he was really happy with his decision to get Tenchu. So he later did get Metal Gear Solid. But at the time, like, that stood out to me because that was like kind of maybe not the prevailing opinion that like Tenchu was better than Metal Gear Solid, but
I mean, they're so different.
They're so different, yeah.
They both have a stealth element. But...
Yeah, my main thing I remember from watching him play this was like at least at like nighttime, and technically I guess in the daytime too, but like the draw distance is so short in this game.
It is short, but due to the fact that it's outside at night and stuff.
Yes. The downsides of that are a little more apparent in Tenchu 2 from what I've played.
A lot of it is in daytime.
Yes. So, but I've wanted to get these games for a while and have just kept putting it off and finally stopped putting it off. But the most incredible deal for me for the whole trip was today at one of the stores, one of these mini branch stores of Video Game World, the one in the Concord Mills Mall, which is not the Concord location. There's a location in Concord Mills, the mall. There's also a location in Concord.
Yeah. Where I also got Patriotic Pinball.
That's true. This is Incredible Crisis for the PlayStation 1 with the incredible price sticker of $45 that you can see on there. And wow, what a deal. Yeah. That is like half price of what it goes for now. We saw that at Lost Ark for $90. And
you wanted to buy it.
If it was $70, I would have bought it. Because I really wanted this game. I mean, I don't like paying $70 for games, but
this is worth it.
This game is just unlike anything I've ever seen before. And because it looks like the going price is about $70.
Yeah.
But I didn't buy that $90 copy. We saw this at the mall Video Game World for $45. I'm just like, I am like, if it's not like, as long as it's not in like awful condition, I am buying that. And it's in good shape. This game, Coury streamed a little bit of it a few months ago, and it's a mini game collection, which sounds super unappealing when you say that, but it's this very story driven mini game compilation where you're kind of going through this linear series of just like ridiculous events. You're just like the salary man in Japan. And
the most stereotypical of salaryman.
Yes, I mean he is nothing like a video game hero at all. Just very boring looking guy in a suit. But all of these ridiculous, over the top movie like scenarios keep happening to him throughout this just stupid day. And it's just all these different mini games, and the way the character models are created and rigged looks like unlike anything else I've seen on PS1. Like they just look incredible in motion. And it is hilarious. I'm really looking forward to playing through this. It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's a ridiculous game. It's fantastic. You have like a rhythm dance game. It starts out with that. You have an Indiana Jones kind of like rolling boulder scene. You have like that boat scene where it's just insanity upon insanity. I really love this game, but I do not love this box art, and I think the European box art is better than that.
Yeah, the box does not really sell what this game is about at all.
I really don't understand what they were going.
Yeah, I mean it's published by Titus. They just didn't know how to publish a game.
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
So
the music I think is by Tokyo Ska Orchestra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's their name. And they did a few other game soundtracks as well. I mean, they were a popular band, or orchestra, but I mean, it was a band. But the music is really good. Yeah,
and by the way, hey, it could be gone by the time you're watching this, but at the Concord location, they had another copy, and it was $45 as well. So just hot tip out there. If anyone is in the area. But yeah, that is the extent of it. This is the biggest haul of games I've ever gotten in this span of time. It's embarrassing. It's horrible. I am not allowing.
And you're not even married.
Yeah, like I'm mad at myself. I cannot spend this kind of money
the
again
reason why
anytime
this is such a long video is it's also like kind of self-therapy for us to go through these games one by one.
I don't know. Maybe I feel worse now, but I feel incredible about that deal on Incredible Crisis. I will say that.
I'll very quickly just round out this video by just showing off some gifts I got while I was here.
Sure.
Because I think just giving these people a shout out for being amazing people, I have to do so. But my buddy Luke Heaver, who you've met a few times now.
You've known him forever.
I've known him since he
happens to live in North Carolina.
He lives in close to you.
There's been some work of his hiding in the background here.
So Luke has an interesting project where if you look him up on Twitter, he has a Twitter account called Pixels Rebuilt. Because he had to sell off his collection because of money issues a few years ago, as many do in their early 20s. He sold off his entire collection, and it always pained him. But he's a much better place in life now, cleaned up life, and started rebuilding his collection. And he wanted to make it more interesting, and he asked me for ideas. And I always knew that he did these for kind of self-therapy. We can see the other one there. This is a Jim Power. And Luke is very good at this. He makes them for people. He never did it for anything else but the hobby and kind of self-therapy during troubled times. And so I told him, why don't you buy one-on-one game? And for each game you buy, you number them and you create a perler, just based on anything in the game. And he did. And he's at the time of this recording, he is on like 102, I think? 102 games. And yeah, I mean, they're fantastic.
Yeah, he showed me his whole collection one time when we met up at Video Game World. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I always like to feature Luke's work. He's a very good person. And when I came over, he gave me some games as gifts. And I want to show them off here because, fantastic stuff.
It's all part of the haul, so...
Yeah, part of the haul. Though I didn't have to pay for it. But Assert Dreams, one of my favorites on PlayStation 1. I played this a lot with Tom, with the other friend I mentioned. I guess everyone's kind of discovering that I actually have friends. But Assert Dreams is a roguelike and town builder RPG, very similar to stuff like Shared and the Wanderer.
It has like Pokemon monster sort of buddy elements.
On top of everything else.
Yeah.
It also has that, and it has a dating
oh gosh, this is the Renaissance man of games.
It's not the best, but
yeah, I've tried it. It's a little jank.
It's a little bit jank, but I love it. I love the art. I love the music, and it just has this completely unique atmosphere that I think very few games have kind of recaptured. And Tom is always looking for similar games to this. I think the closest he's found is Izuna on the DS, those Ninja for Hire games, or Unemployed Ninja. Those play very similar to this. This had actually 2 sequels. It had a remake on Game Boy Color, which is very similar. And had one on DS called Tao's Adventure. Which
not sure if I heard that.
No one has played it.
Yeah.
Tom has it because it was a sequel. But yeah, so Assert Dreams, I told Luke about this a while ago, and he remembered and picked it up for me. What a good friend. He also knows that I like 3DO, so Batoru Pinball. It's a Japanese pinball game for 3DO. I love Japanese 3DO games. Another crossover episode, I think, eventually will be to take a look at a few of them, and this is included in that. So, just a 3DO game. Road Rash.
Genesis Road Rash.
What
more do you need to say?
I have 3DO Road Rash and I have Genesis Road Rash. Really love this. Love those games. Road Rash 1, I think, is actually my favorite.
How do you feel about the shape of the case, though?
Yes, this is not an original case.
Oh, it's not?
No.
But the real one is like a little wide, isn't it? Yeah. I don't have any EA games on my Genesis shelf. I don't know how I'd feel about. I mean, this looks like it would actually blend in a little bit better with your other Genesis games.
The inlay is original, but you can see that it kind
of wraps a little differently, but it actually looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks good.
Luckily, I have 2 EA games at home, like a duplicate. So
so you could do a case swap. Nice. And
long box, loaded.
Look at that.
Gotta love loaded.
Wrong facing PlayStation on this side.
That's fine.
Never going to buy now that I just can't. I can't sully my PS1 section with that kind of inconsistency.
There's professionals you can pay to try to talk to you about that. But loaded, very violent, but also very fun, kind of overhead shooter. Which I think most people play this, but I like it. It did have a sequel called Reloaded back in the day. So it was very early in the day. So it was a very famous like demo game. It was on demo discs a lot. So the first prison area, people have played that a lot.
I like how the quote on the back of the box from Game Players is possibly the bloodiest title of the year.
Well, of that year, it might have been. I don't know.
Man, the screenshots on the back, though, are just like such poor quality. I can't make out anything about what's going on there.
I noticed that too, and I was like, Well, actually, the game, me and John were playing this recently because I love it, but we did discover that it's rough on the performance and it scales up and down a lot. And it's not the cleanest game, but it kind of goes with the aesthetic of the like kind of dirty and grimy thing. And then you have Space Griffin VF9, which is a Panther game published by Atlas, and had like an action RPG icon there. I guess they tried to do like labeling of.
Well, you know, it's like how every game in Japan has to have like a made up genre on the box, you know.
But again, it was just like a long box game. But I seem to recall this is actually quite good. I think it's like kind of like Metalhead on 32X maybe. So yeah. And then this was another one that actually shipped to him. So this is one I paid for, but this is a Kickstarter game. It is called Anguna, Scourge of the Goblin King. I think Anguna was originally like a GBA homebrew, like the RPG, and this is a sequel.
It's a NES cart?
This is an NES cart.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a sell-it-like kind of game. I mean, I like the coloring on the art, but I'm not sure about the art. But that's
the look on the character's face, like,
you know, art is.
I would not buy that game based on that character's face, but if I were to turn around the back of the box, I mean, it looks like it could be a good game.
It could be, but
I don't know.
It leaves a lot to be desired. The last of the gifts, well, CDI. Let's talk about CDI, but we haven't mentioned him yet, but we shall mention him now. Importantly, we did meet a certain Mr. Dopley.
Oh, yes!
At the LRG store.
Yes!
Dopley is the gentleman that reverse engineered the Zelda CDI games.
But when you introduced me to him, I was just like, what?
Your mind was blown.
I can't believe you're here.
You did play them on stream with me.
Yes, and he was in the stream chat. And yes. He did incredible work on that stuff.
And he came down for reasons to the LRG store to just meet up with people and talk and do things. And we met with him. We know him via online. It was the first time we met him. He's a wonderful person.
Oh, yeah. He was just a delight.
Yeah, very delightful. And before he left, he was like, I want to give you these 2 Dutch CDI encyclopedias.
Dutch CDI encyclopedias?
Yes. And I was like, thank you so much. I mean, what better parting gifts than this? Being that he is the man that has brought back the CDI full scale, and I am a man that loves CDI and the full body scale.
Do you?
I absolutely do. I love it. Well, speaking of lying to myself,
is this the last game? Is this the final game? Oh man, that's a good one to end on.
Yeah, I did it. I thought of it.
Oh man,
I plan ahead.
Man, this guy knows how to do it.
I know how to do it. But the developers did not. This is Surf Ninjas, based on the hit film Surf Ninjas, starring Leslie Nielsen as a samurai robot, and also, what's his name? The guy who played Kato in Team NT2, Ernie Reyes Jr. He's the main character. I always wanted this. And have you seen the movie?
I have not.
Okay, so in the movie, the younger of the brothers, whose name escapes me, that is not Ernie Reyes, but the younger brother has a Game Gear in the movie where he plays the video game Surf Ninjas.
So a little cross-promotion action here.
And in one of the scenes, he plays the scene that's upcoming. So he has like the Game Gear he has with the cartridge of Surf Ninjas is predicting the future.
So wait, is this just an Easter egg sort of in the movie, or is he actually aware that this predicts the future?
No, he is not aware, and also it's a plot.
Do they realize it later?
Well, it's more like it's in a restaurant or something.
Okay.
He's sitting there playing, and then in the game he's also in that same restaurant, if I remember it correctly. It's been many years, and he sees ninjas coming down for the ceiling in the game, and he's like, huh? And then the ninja's coming in real life.
Oh, okay.
The funny thing is that, like, if you actually played this, it's not the same game that he's playing in the movie.
Okay.
In the movie, it's just a made-up game. This is a real game on Game Gear, so it is kind of cross-promotional, but this is not the same game. I always wanted it just because my love is...
It's sealed.
It's sealed. And you were telling me, like,
so
I have this game, Surf Ninja sealed.
There's a funny story about this, because, like, right after Coury and I finished working on the Analog Pocket episode, like, I was definitely in the mood to get more Game Gear games.
Yeah.
And a friend of his from forum days forever ago owns a game store, I believe, in upstate New York.
Yeah.
And we, he took pictures of, like, Coury wanted to buy more GBA games. I wanted to buy more Game Gear games, so he took pictures of all those, and we picked some we wanted to buy off of him. And just as a gag, he just put a dusty sealed copy of Surf Ninjas in my box. And, we laughed about it, and I took a picture and sent it to, our chat with John and Audi. And, I just thought, oh, ha, ha, ha. I thought, like, oh, like, I'm not familiar with this movie. I'm not familiar with this game, but I know that, especially because he said it as a joke, I knew, like, this has to be some garbage.
Oh, it is garbage.
And I just thought it was funny. I had every intention of keeping it. Yeah. But Audi was like,
I can't believe it.
I want that. I have wanted this game boxed for years.
Yeah.
And, like, so through this act of either kindness or malice or joking on behalf of this guy we know through Coury, this game unwittingly found the one man in the entire universe that, like, actively wanted this.
And I now have it. And what better way to end this multi-hour long pickups video of us making mistake upon mistake by highlighting the biggest mistake. That, though, Mark, it is printed on recycled paper. So,
I mean, there's that.
There is that. And, it will never go in the garbage now that it's in my hands. But that was more games than I ever will even be able to play. But to sum it up, we have accountants and they will go to work. We also, some of us have partners, and I have a lot to work to fix this. But thank you so much, of course, everyone, to watch. If you watch this whole thing through, thanks so much, and do let us know how much we rambled on and how we could not pay attention. And then, hopefully someone puts timestamps out there on the funny parts. But, Mark, this has been a really fun first time in real life crossover for me and you.
Do a video with me, and it's always going to end up longer than you ever dreamed or intended it could be.
On Patreon, we don't have to edit. So we can do it very simple. And that's because all of you support us and let us do this. And I'm very happy that this was the first video I could do with their friend in a new home, as I will actually be in your close proximity for a good while now. So there will be a lot of crossovers with My Life in Gaming on DF. And of course, we will bring John over as well to do videos with us in person and overseas. But yeah, anything you want to... I mean, I've closed out for my channel, but this is also going out on your channel. So
So
like, subscribe, and all that stuff.
Yeah, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I got that all memorized when I did the Final Fantasy 14 video.
That's right. You did do that.
For DF. Channeled my inner Richard Ledbetter for that. But yeah, I'm sure some of these games will pop up on our Sunday night streams.
Yeah.
Coury and I stream every Sunday night at 11, or why am I saying 11? It's after midnight by the time we're recording this, so I don't know. Coury and I stream on the MLeague YouTube channel, My Life in Gaming YouTube channel, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. every Sunday night, except when we don't, which is very rare. Almost every Sunday night.
Yeah.
So I am sure you will be seeing some of these games here because they are adding to my backlog that I got to get through.
And I'm sure you'll be seeing me on a lot of these streams because I'm sure some days when Coury can't make it, I'll do the 2-hour drive down here.
Because why not?
Because why not? I mean, I got nothing better to do. Of course, subscribe to My Life in Gaming's channel and support their Patreon.
We do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/MyLifeInGaming.
And who else has a YouTube channel and a Patreon that they can subscribe to?
I think it's Digital Foundry, but I believe if you're watching this, there's a decent chance that you are subscribed, but you might not be. So, if you're watching it later, if you were a Patreon member, you could have been watching this like forever ago.
Yeah, probably a month ago or so. I'm not sure when this is coming out to public, but I guess it will depend on when Mr. Ledbetter will allow a 3-hour video to go up on the channel.
It's going to be a slow week when that happens.
Very slow. But there's no E3 this year, so who knows?
Yeah, that's going to be a slow week.
It's a slow end.